Okay, time to answer some of our phone lines.
That is the last thing I expected.
Boy, they fired everybody. Just like that.
Yeah, I know. I'll never get a DJ slot now, not even as a substitute.
You really sound sexy, you know that? You really sound sexy, you know that?
Well, I've been told my voice.
No, I mean, you're getting me horny here just listening to you.
So this is gonna be our new format.
Yeah.
Are you wearing any clothes right now?
No, just some panties.
Ooh, little ones, right?
A black bikini.
Mm-hmm. You want to have some fun with me?
Yeah.
Take them off.
I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Okay, it's off.
Are you naked?
Yes, totally.
Really, really?
Yeah. Let me close the shades here.
Great. I can't believe it. We've got a naked woman on the line.
A totally naked woman on our radio station.
Okay, now that I've got you here, you know what I'd really like? For you to tell me your pet name for a guy's penis.
He did not just say that.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, dick, schlong, salami, pecker.
Tell you what I call it?
Sure. Are you into it?
Oh, no. No, you cannot be that stupid.
Hello?
How about 6 tickets?
Sure, honey, tell you what. Use the word in a sentence, something like, I'd like to see your big, long schlong.
What? I don't know.
Ah, come on, Ken, it's just for fun.
She's gonna do it.
Think of all the guys you'll be turning on. Better yet, think of those 6 dicks.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Sexy now.
I really want to see your big, fat, juicy love toy.
Oh, my God. This is way better than Waldo. Woo!
Karen, you have given me the most enormous woody.
All right, let's kick this off. It's the Esoteric Eric Roberts podcast, film of the evening, Power 98 from Power 96. I got Roy here.
Speak up. Have you got a good crime?
If I had, I forgot it. But you know what I do have is I have a few examples of off-screen deaths that might not meet your criteria. I forget what your confusing criteria for off-screen deaths were in movies.
Okay, go for it.
But you know, the big one that came to mind is the 2005 Spielberg War of the Worlds with Tim Robbins. Do you remember the whole demise of Tim Robbins's character?
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, he's crazy in it. And at some point, Tom Cruise and his family end up having to bunker down with this guy who's going to end up getting all of them killed with his craziness. So Tom Cruise has no choice but to take Tim Robbins out. And I think what it is Cruise has like a shovel in his hand, and there's like a shot of him going into this basement or into this room with Tim Robbins and closing the door as the little girl. At the time, she was a little girl actress. Forget her name.
Sharon Stone.
Yeah, his daughter Sharon Stone is distracted while Tom Cruise murders Tim Robbins in that movie, ostensibly. But the other one that I wanted to bring up was Reservoir Dogs, where Steve Buscemi gets blasted off screen. Doesn't he run out and there's like some arguing outside with cops and you hear all this gunfire?
Yeah, but I guess.
I knew you wouldn't accept that.
That one I kind of don't know. I think you're pretty sure he dies.
Well, in other news, I was going to ask you if you've seen a trailer for this Damien Chazelle movie, Babylon.
No, I haven't.
So I watched it the other day, and it stars Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, and a lot of other people show up in the trailer, including...
Is it based in some way on Hollywood Babylon?
It seems like it is, yeah. It's like a Hollywood, it's kind of like a LA Confidential, maybe pre that time even, like 30s, 20s Hollywood. But Eric Roberts is in that film.
Nice.
And it was pretty exciting to see him in the trailer, getting a pretty high profile gig there with this Babylon movie.
It's not based on the David Gray song.
Babylon. I don't know. Maybe that's in the movie. Did you ever read Hollywood Babylon?
Yeah, I did. There are multiple volumes of it, but I read the first volume by the filmmaker and artist Kenneth Anger.
Yeah, famous Satanist Kenneth Anger. I was just pondering if Anger was still alive.
I doubt it. It's a good question.
Oh, indeed he is. He's 95.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, still kicking.
Only the good die young.
He outlived Godard.
Oh yeah, Jean-Luc Godard died.
Yeah, he died of assisted suicide, Roy.
Nice.
His wife said he wasn't sick, he was just tired.
Oh,
Yeah, made it that far. Wild stuff.
people are always like, I'm sick and tired
Of being
he
so
was just
sick and
tired.
tired.
He was just tired.
Oof.
I went to the movies actually before we saw Depth Charge. You talking about the trailer for Babylon made me think that this is apropos of nothing related to this show except for that it's a movie. I went and saw that 3,000 Years of Longing movie.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. Should I?
No,
Oh,
it's real bad.
yeah. Well, that sucks. I liked
It's
George
not-
Miller's last movie.
Babe, Pig in the City. That's one of those things where it's like he didn't actually direct the Babe movies, but he produced them, and it kind of like lives in the memory like Nightmare Before Christmas with the Mandela effect, where you think Tim Burton directed Nightmare Before Christmas, and you think George Miller directed the Babe movies.
Yeah. And the Happy Feet, right? Maybe he actually directed Happy Feet.
Not sure.
He was involved in it and probably made an insane amount of money off of it. But I was a big Fury Road fan.
Speaking of seeing trailers with Eric Roberts' favorites in it, I saw briefly John Deal in the trailer for that new Armageddon Time movie.
Yeah.
They don't even say his name in the trailer or anything, but there's just this one shot of this crazy looking dude, and I was like, whoa, John Deal's looking crazy.
You think John Dill will be in the credits? You know,
The end
sometimes
credits?
sometimes they make movies, Roy, and there's actors in them and they end up not even being credited.
Much like
Power 98 from 1996.
who is not credited in this?
Larry Drake, unless
Oh
I'm
yes.
imagining a guy that looks just like him.
No, it was definitely Larry Drake. Was he not in the end credits of the movie?
No, he's nowhere to be found anywhere online or anywhere. There's no mention of him being involved in this film.
I feel like on IMDb it at least says that he's in it. Maybe not. No,
No.
wait, now that I'm looking at it, it does not. That was definitely Larry Drake.
Yeah, the only thing that I found was a tvguide.com listing from around that time period that does have Drake in it. So maybe it was something that happened afterwards where he wanted to be completely wiped from having any involvement with it. It's strange. But we'll get to Larry Drake here in a little bit. There's a few things I wanted to bring up about him. We've talked about him on the show before, in fact.
Yes.
But this movie, Power 98.
Wait, we have way more old business actually.
Oh, let's get to it.
First off, last time I said I was not into Down Periscope. I have to say I finished the movie and I give it a mild thumbs up. It won me over. And then also Irene or Adina Pappas from such films as The Odyssey. I saw her in a good movie called The Guns of Navarone.
Okay.
You said last time that you had never heard the expression through and through for a bullet wound in Depth Charge. And I heard it again yesterday on the show The Bridge. I've been watching the TV series The Bridge, the 2-season American version with my father. And then, which also brings me to another thing about the movie Depth Charge, which is we totally messed up when we said that the ending should be.
I don't see how that could happen.
I said the ending should be Barry Bostwick turning rogue and making his own terrorism, but so clearly the ending of the movie should be a Get Shorty ending where we see the making of the Depth Charge movie.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, where they talk about that who's gonna play what's his face Pearson twice in the movie. So clearly the ending should have been like all of a sudden whoever's talking to Barry Bostwick should be someone else, and then he should be someone else. And I thought right now we should go into casting of who should be the various actors. Who should play? Well, should we start with Pearson since it was mentioned? Who do you think should have played Pearson?
Pearsall?
Pearsall.
I don't know. The guy that was in Get Out seems to be kind of same age.
But this would be at the end of Depth Charge.
Okay, so it has to be 08 appropriate.
Yeah.
How about one of the guys from Christmas in Compton?
Miguel Nunez.
Yeah.
Well, he was saying,
Omar Gooding.
Omar Gooding. I was thinking that it should be Morgan Freeman or Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
Because he thought it should be Denzel, and Gedrick thought it should be Sam Jackson. So I thought, who do you think? I was thinking maybe Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Freeman would be good. What about Gedrick?
All that action. For Jason Gedrick, what do you think?
Well, I would be inspired from what I've seen recently to cast Harrison Ford as Jason Gedrick.
No, that's some good spoilering, but I was gonna say Ralph Macchio.
Okay. Yeah, he's back in the spotlight
Switch
again
out
these
the
days.
Iron Eagle for the Karate Kid.
Nice. Yeah. How about the Last Starfighter guy?
Oh yeah.
He was kind of like a Gedrick, where that was it for him. I
Yes.
think Gedrick probably went on to have even a better career.
Who
Okay,
should have
so
played Corbin Burnson?
from 08 times? I don't know. That's tough. Eric Roberts.
My first thought was Larry Drake. That was
Yeah.
before I watched Power 98 and saw Larry Drake. So now I think Jimmy Smits.
Okay. Yeah.
What about Barry Bostwick?
As the president.
My answer is Tim Thomerson.
Yeah. Tim Robbins. Has he ever played the president before? He played a president.
Good question.
Played a guy running for president.
Yeah. Ooh.
That film, Bob Roberts. Your favorite movie, Roy?
My favorite movie, Bob Roberts.
The movie that made you a liberal, you said.
Yes. Well, who should play Eric Roberts?
I don't know. Man, I'm not good at answering these questions like this. You have answers there in front of you.
Yeah, I do. Mine is Harvey Keitel because I think he's contractually obligated to be in every fake movie at the end of a movie.
Yeah. How many times has he done it?
Well, he was in the Get Shorty fake movie, right, as Danny DeVito.
Well, I thought he was playing the other.
Oh,
guy.
is he
Fuck
Chili
you,
Palmer?
fuckball.
Oh, he's Dennis Farina. Okay.
Maybe. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
And he's also at the end of the fake movie In the Player.
Oh, is he? With
Yes.
Julia Roberts?
Yes.
Damn, I don't remember Keitel in The Player.
I think he's the detective that's going to send her to the gas chamber or something.
Yeah, that's an inspired choice, man.
And then I was thinking that as Allenson, it should be Martin Cove.
Yeah, good call. The world needs more Cove. Have you been watching any of that Cobra Kai?
No.
Will you ever? You're a never say never kind of guy when it comes to watching stuff.
I'll tell you what I would say. If I was a gay man, every time I encountered misfortune, I would say, well, God hates fags.
God. I work with 3 guys that are obsessed with homosexual sex. No, I work with 3 guys that are obsessed with Cobra Kai. They talk about it all the time. I've seen 2 episodes of it, but now there's like 5 seasons of it.
Yeah, it really took off. It was like one of those things where people were like kind of buzzing about this weird thing. And you're like, why do people even care about this? And all of a sudden it's a big deal.
But when the 70-year-old guy I work with, who isn't he's not a huge movie guy like we are, but even when he points out crazy, overly connected things in it, it makes me really not want to watch it. Because the whole thing of the show is they bring back everybody from those movies in weird ways. Like the Japanese guy that Daniel fights in the second movie comes back, and
whoa.
Yeah. Cove is back. Everyone's back. Miyagi's gone, of course, because Pat Morita's dead. But
bullshit.
What's her name? Ali Sheedy? No, not Ali Sheedy. Elizabeth Shue. She's in there. Any other back business, or should we go through the entire?
We have a big piece of back business.
Okay.
Which is that a listener asked us a question. A listener on YouTube named Joshua Richards. He asked if we would please explain the ending of Final Analysis. He wants to know, does it mean that Uma Thurman is crazy and assuming her sister's identity and killing men with the fake drunk stuff, or did she mastermind the whole scheme?
So this guy's assuming that I remember any of these fucking movies. What do you think?
I thought we should maybe, like in the Final Analysis episode, we called my one black friend D-Roy that I watch a movie with once a month.
Oh yeah, he's a good man.
And so I thought maybe I'd call him back and see what his take is.
Let's talk to D-Roy.
All right, I'm gonna dial him up. Beep, boop, 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 boop. This number has been disconnected due to lack of payment and responsibility. My take is that the more I looked at it, the more uncertain I became, because I was thinking that at the end, I think she's just, honestly, I think she's just crazy and assuming it. But at the same time, you could kind of look at it that like she and her sister might have been in it together, were probably in it together from the start, and maybe she has it in for her sister. What's unclear in retrospect is, how was Uma Thurman ever crazy? Like, why was Uma Thurman in the mental hospital to begin with? Because her sister is the one that set the fire and killed the dad, we find out, Kim Basinger.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that you could look at it is that maybe Uma Thurman masterminded part of the scheme to get rid of her sister. She kind of helps her sister escape and helps her sister. She helps both sides at points, which all add up to her sister being killed. I kind of think it's a mess still, and I'm not sure, but I'm going to lean towards that she's just crazy. Did
you
not
watch it
mastermind the
again?
whole thing.
You didn't watch it again, did you?
No.
Yeah, I would need to watch it again. Everything would come flooding back to me, but I would need to have the movie in front of me. So that's a weird piece of back business. I was contacted by somebody. Contacted.
Were you contracted?
I was I contracted something from someone. No, someone sent me a message on social media there asking if I was one of the guys behind the EsotEric Eric Roberts podcast, which I replied yes. And this person asked if I was aware of Eric Roberts's role as Duffy the Talking Cat in the movie called A Talking Cat from
Yes,
2013.
I am aware of it.
So that's got to be in our queue then at some point. We got to talk about this movie. You like kitty cats.
I do.
I'm allergic to them, but I don't mind them. I like that cats perform a function. So they chase the vermin away, sometimes kill the vermin.
I was thinking that just yesterday I might come out of the closet and just say, I don't like dogs.
Do it. There's too much dog love in the culture these days.
I'll stay inside. I'll never get laid again.
People
if you notice, like every woman on earth now owns a dog.
Yeah, it's the thing, right? It's the new child.
Yeah, it is. It's like you can't meet a woman who doesn't have a dog.
Did you chance to look at the plot keywords of Power 98?
No, I didn't. Go ahead, and I'm ready. Let's get into it. What are these plot keywords?
Well, Power 98 has only 3 plot keywords. I don't think it was a movie that was seen very much. In fact, before I get into it, I was going to ask if you knew where this movie was seen. It says that it was produced by Warner Home Video.
Warner Vision.
Distributed.
I
Warner,
think
I remember Warner Vision in the credits, and then somewhere on one of the pages, IMDb or somewhere, it said Warner Video. Home Video.
Warner Vision was, I think, like not Atlantic Records or something. One of the record companies got bought by Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of merger, and Warner Vision handled a lot of music videos and did a lot of releases of music video tapes, but they also did quite a few softcore erotic thrillers and some what seemed to be more pornographic things with Penthouse. They also did a lot of children's educational films and such, a lot of Magic School Bus and things like Gumby, Digimon, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish. And they did Naked Souls with Pam Anderson, Nemesis 2 and 3. They did an exercise video called Lower Body of Steel. Nothing online ever lists that they produced or released Power 98, though. Actually watching this movie is the only evidence I can find of that.
My guess is that it was on HBO, Showtime, or Cinemax late at night. Probably Cinemax.
I'm thinking home video, and then was probably shown on all those channels late at night.
Home video first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe simultaneously. I don't know what the video to TV cycle is for those crazy movies.
Well, the plot keywords are radio, independent film, and finally V-neck.
I wonder how that one got on there.
I don't know, but it is not Roberts who I spied wearing the V-neck in this film.
Well, he does, but it's not his traditional V-neck.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to jog my memory. I don't remember seeing him in one.
A lying co-host of the EsotEric Roberts podcast did see the keywords and added that sartorial keyword for your enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. I love sartorial keywords, and I wondered about that. It seems pretty specific.
Yeah.
This film stars Eric Roberts in the top credit.
Yeah, he and Gedrick have switched billings here.
Yeah, so this is the return of Jason Gedrick, who in the last episode you had mentioned that he had a Joey Lawrence-ness to him, which I really, really understand in this film.
He really does have a Joey Lawrence thing going in this, especially with
Yeah.
like some of the sartorial choices for his character in this movie, and Eric Roberts just kind of remind me of Joey Lawrence on Blossom or something.
Yeah, and yeah, facial expressions and everything. I remember also in the last episode you had mentioned that film Rooftops, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I did watch the music video for Avenue D that you told me about. You told me
Oh,
about the
good.
song, and it's been in my head ever since.
It's a
Stoned
good
and Bum.
earworm.
Yeah, it's a good one. So who else is in the cast here? We have Stephen Tobolowsky,
Yes,
who we
from
know from many
everything.
things.
Needle Nose Ned.
Yeah, we have Ned Ryerson. We have Jenny Garth of
Yes.
Beverly Hills 90210 fame. Uncredited Larry Drake. We have James
And
Pickens Jr. Go ahead.
who is as Detective Wilkinson as our token black character in the movie.
Yeah.
Somehow the only person of color at all, I think, in this movie. No, I think maybe we see there might be an African American woman briefly, like a model.
You said you watched this film with D. Roy.
No.
Oh, you were just going to ask him about it?
No, I asked him about Final Analysis.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to ask if D. Roy was a James Pickens Jr. fan.
Good question. I'd call him, but you know how it is.
Yeah. It's sometimes predictability, it can be tragic.
We have the guy who played Joe Kennedy on Boardwalk Empire as the voice of Eddie.
Yeah. I saw this guy in the credits and saw that he ended up going on to having a pretty good career. His name's Matt Lesher, or Matthew Lesher. Looks like he was in Mask of Zorro, Her, Identity.
We'll get to why it's crazy that he's even a person involved in this.
It's crazy that he's even a person, you know?
Yes.
How about Jim Fife? He's in there as this guy, Roger, who's like a radio engineer.
I recognized him from The Frighteners.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of stuff. He was in some X-Files episodes. See, I was confused for a second, and I thought that I had recognized Jim Fife as the guy from the Got Milk commercial, whose mouth is full of a peanut butter sandwich.
He looks quite a bit like that guy. Whose name I don't know.
Yeah, the guy who's trying to call in and win the money and say that the guy who shot Alexander Hamilton was Aaron Burr, but it's not him. But I did learn something about that commercial, which was a huge commercial in the 90s. Do you know who directed it?
Michael Bay.
That is correct. You know everything, Roy. I can never stump you.
But did you know? So one crazy cast thing I saw in this is that actor Jack Betts plays the classical music station radio DJ Waldo, and he has a long career with lots of roles, but he started off his career as Jack Betts. Then in 1962 or 1963, he started being credited as Hunt Powers.
Whoa.
And he continued as Hunt Powers for a long time until 1972. He came back as Jack Betts. He had an extensive career in spaghetti westerns. He did, and some Italian movies as well, but he mostly, in the Hunt Powers days, he did a lot of spaghetti westerns.
Hunt Powers. Any other notables from the cast?
Well, there's a woman named Leonora Scelfo who plays a character named Cynthia, who we'll get to. And she had a very small acting career. She was in Scream as the cheerleader in the bathroom. She wrote a book. She was in a show in 2022 called Slasher Scotty, where she gets interviewed on YouTube by a guy that does Zoom interviews with people from slasher movies. And she seems pretty wacky. I guess she was Skeet Ulrich's girlfriend and living with him in the lead up to Scream. And then they had some kind of big falling out. And she didn't speak very highly of Skeet Ulrich, but she wouldn't get specific. But she kind of seems like a nut. I don't know. That's maybe not. But
I wonder if Skeet couldn't be faithful.
I don't know. She didn't do very many movies, but she's still kicking. and alive and happy to talk about Scream.
One doesn't know. Well, this movie starts off in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, we get the credit of Jamie Hellman as the writer and director. His only fiction movie. He directed a lot of documentary TV, and this is I guess, kind of an erotic thriller. So you get some Hellman's mayonnaise
Well, it's spelled like a
from your
man's.
penis,
It's spelled like a male Jamie, but from what I found,
or a Jaime.
Jamie is a female.
Oh, this is a lady?
I think
Nice.
so.
My mistake.
I don't know. I could be wrong. I can't find my source now, but somehow I had maybe seen a picture or something. But yeah, it's spelled like Jaime. Maybe I'm going crazy.
I don't know. I did not do much research on
Who
this.
knows how this person wants to be represented now?
This is also shot. Probably our behind the scenes big credits on this are that the music's by Jeff Beal, who's gone on to do tons of HBO shows like Rome and Luck and stuff. And it's shot by Kent L. Wakeford, who passed away in 2020, who's famously the cinematographer on Mean Streets.
Yeah.
And it looked like he went into where he did several, or at least a few these kind of lower budget movies and erotic thrillers and things in the 90s in this period. He's done a kind of a variety of movies. He did a George Hickenlooper movie that kind of sounds like a Civil War version of Michael Mann's The Keep.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's Jaime, and I think it's a man.
And I think that the cinematography is probably, spoiler, the best element of this movie.
Currently looking at Jaime Hellman's LinkedIn page. That's a pretty cool name, Jaime Hellman.
I'm guessing it's Jamie, but it's definitely spelled like Jaime.
Yeah.
Escalante.
Not a lady from what I see. So yeah, Phoenix, Arizona is where the movie begins, and it seems to be during rush hour. We see some highways with cars, busy highways, and we're hearing the Carlin Pickett show on the radio.
Carlin Pickett.
What's he talking about, Roy?
He asks listeners to call in and tell him what the craziest place they've made love is.
Yeah. So we hear
what's the craziest place you've made love?
A bed. Maybe a car. I don't know. I'm not too adventurous.
Me neither. For me, it was a monkeypox testing clinic.
Yeah. How'd that turn out? Was it a negative experience?
Did you notice something odd immediately with this movie? Where did you watch this movie?
The craziest place I watched this movie? I watched it on an elevator, Roy.
What service or method did you
I watched
use?
it on YouTube with the Swedish or Scandinavian credits burned into it.
Well, then you probably had the same experience I did, where you're immediately like, what's up with Eric Roberts' voice?
A little, yeah, sped up a little bit.
Yeah, the whole thing was sped up a little bit. The real movie is 1 hour and 29 minutes long, and that YouTube file's 1 hour 25, and the picture's right, but the sound is sped up. So in this movie where Roberts and Gedrick
saves that many minutes.
Yeah, so it's not like twice speed, so that it's not drastically shorter, but it's 4 minutes shorter, and you can tell like it makes it comical that Jason Gedrick and Eric Roberts are playing DJs or wannabe DJs.
Kind of helium-y voices.
And they're both helium voiced. At some points, Eric Roberts' voice, it almost sounds like his normal voice as the movie progresses. Not here at the beginning. It's really noticeable immediately. But so I had to go back and watch a trailer and just make sure. In the trailer, they have deep voices. And then in this version of the movie, not so much.
You can adjust the speed on YouTube.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know if you can do it so specifically. It has playback speeds, but it's like the increments are pretty big. Like I'm looking at it right now, you can watch. So after normal, you can do it on 0.75, 0.5, or 0.25. So I think slowing it down by that increment would still not quite fix it. It would still be weird.
Yeah,
we'll have to experiment and see. But it didn't really distract me. I thought about it. I was like, yeah, this is a little bit off. But sometimes also they do that on purpose to not get taken down.
I thought that might be the reasoning. And it was noticeable too when Stephen Tobolowsky talked, but then, you know, when Jack Betts was talking as Waldo, his voice was still really deep and stuff. So it made me wonder how deep it was in reality.
Yeah, like Tony the Tiger. You know, Tony the Tiger, wasn't Tony the Tiger's voice Paul Thomas Anderson's father?
Is that true?
No, I don't think
It
so.
was the singing voice of the Grinch,
Was PTA his dad?
the Tony the Tiger.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a different guy then. These are they were he was just a voice actor, but I don't think he was that voice actor. But Roy, I wanted to ask you if you ever made love while watching the Late Late Show. Remember that song? I'd be stroking Clarence
Billy
Carter.
Squire.
Clarence
Oh
Carter.
yeah, you're
Clarence
right.
Carter.
That's a different song. I was thinking it was The Stroke by Billy Squire.
I used to love stroking the song when I was a boy. I didn't have MTV because I didn't have cable for a long time. So I had to watch music videos on that box net channel where you had to call in and pay for videos if you wanted to, which I think
Stroking a classic R&B song that's played in country westerns and bars is like a line dancing thing.
Yes, that happened a lot when I would go to those types of clubs when I was younger. But the music video had like stop motion animation in it. It was really funny. I remember it would come on all the time in the early 90s.
Never seen it.
Yeah, Clarence Carter. Remember that one Clarence Carter song you were a big fan of, Patches?
Yeah.
And you would always sing it. The way you would sing it was, "My daddy was a super racist." So anyways, we have Eric Roberts as Carlin Pickett, but we don't see him yet. We just hear his voice over all this footage. Oh, well, we eventually see him in a studio, I think, right? In the Phoenix studio.
Yes.
Talking about love making. And then it ends with him telling Phoenix to take it to the edge. Take it to the edge, Phoenix. He wants people to go crazy. So he's a shock jock, and he's not really like a normal comedy type of shock jock. Like he's just a sex shock jock. That's his thing. So we see him at a bar after this where he's trading flirtatious looks with this lady in the bar. At one point he mouths, I love you to her, right?
Or I want you, maybe.
That makes more sense that he would say I want you.
It was unclear. And of course it's also slightly sped up.
Then we see them making out on an elevator in some weird abandoned warehouse type building, and they're having
it is an abandoned warehouse, we find out later.
Yeah, but
which is
not in the scene though. In the scene it's like could just be like, you know, any old studio type apartment setup,
which is a pretty wild place to make love and to know that you can get into to make love and to go to at all.
It's his spot, like, man.
Why would you just end up in an abandoned warehouse?
That's he likes it.
I'm a radio DJ and I know where this abandoned warehouse is. It's a great place for sex.
Roy, we all take it to the edge in our own ways. I think you need to be a little more open-minded.
Yeah, the Carlton Pickett mental processes get very crazy in this movie.
We see them making love on a fire escape balcony, which is dangerous enough, the way that she's propped up on the railing and getting railed on the railing. But they're both dressed, so it's not this is a movie that we talked about another one that was similar to this. Maybe it was A Fugitive Among Us, that sort of purports to be a kind of softcore, have that kind of
was it Love, Cheat, and Steal?
The one with Lithgow.
Yeah, which is also shot by Kent Wakeford.
Oh, who shot this one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So this is our second Roberts semi-erotic thriller.
Well, this one goes a little bit further, though. Later, there is a sexy scene. But
I'd also argue this might be more of a homoerotic thriller.
Uh-huh. So they make love, and then the girl...
This one, if I had been a cruiser of late night cable in this era, which I was, I would be very disappointed by this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't deliver the goods, does it? It doesn't take it to the edge, Phoenix.
No, this movie has something to disappoint everyone.
Well, the woman's disappointed after they make love because she wants to see Eric Roberts again, and he tells her no. And then she tells him, fuck you. And he says, You just did. And she goes to slap him, and doesn't she hit him once, and then he tells her to do it again?
Yes.
And he dodges her, and she overswings, and she flies off of the balcony, and
she grabs the railing, and
she's
he puts his
holding
hand
on.
out to try to save her.
And he's sincerely like scared and really is trying to save her, but she doesn't make
Yes.
it.
No, she falls to her death.
She plummets, and he screams, "No, no, no!" And he's on the balcony, like kind of looks like he's having a nervous breakdown.
Yes, grabbing
And
his messed up hand and looking at it.
yeah, we get to see that.
Then I think maybe his
personal.
expression slightly changes just before they cut, but even that's kind of unclear.
Yeah.
But like maybe he's getting an epiphany, but I'm not sure that's the case. He may just be freaking out. But then again, with the movie slightly sped up, perhaps that moment of him looking at the end was a little millisecond longer.
Of exposition that you missed. We just don't know.
We don't know.
We should add that, as far as I know, this is the shortest hair I've seen Eric Roberts have in a movie.
And we should also add that he's in some of the most amazing shape, that this might be prime eating disorder Roberts. Looks like he's like rocking about 0% body fat in this movie.
Yeah, he's looking good here. He's got a shorn head. How do you like
He's got
his
a really
haircut
short hair. His haircut's kind of that Albert Camus haircut, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He's got that
Funny
short
that's
hair.
the guy that you thought of.
And
I would describe
he
it as
looks
a
pretty
burr.
cool. Yeah, it is kind of a burr. It's a long burr.
Yeah, it's not like a crop. It's not a military jarhead haircut. It's a little bit longer, but yeah, it looks good. That's a good haircut if you have thick hair. If you have nice thick hair, it's a good, like, well, you got to have a nicely shaped head as well.
No, I disagree with the thick hair thing. I think that if you're losing your hair, it's not great, but few haircuts are. However, if you have thick hair, that's one of those haircuts that's only good for like a day, and then it's just brutally terrible.
Because you're in the in-between phase?
Yeah, it's like you get the hair on the side of your head. And also, yeah, it's just like when you have thick hair, oh man, like a lot of those really short haircuts are really rough.
I don't know.
I speak as a man who grew up with thick hair and may have had that haircut at some point, and it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
I've had that
here's the
haircut
deal.
twice, and it's awful.
You gotta have a steady hairstylist hookup.
Yeah, if you can get your haircut constantly, you might be in business.
Yeah, like you gotta know. Like when I was growing up, I had a buddy whose mother cut hair. The guy's name was Drosh Good, and his mother would cut my hair up pretty often. So I had short hair for a little while and was able to maintain it and get it cut like once every couple weeks for free by this
I used
lady.
to work with this guy who was really vain, and he would go and get his haircut like every week and pay for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
when you're older.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's crazy. But there's a gal that cuts my hair now, and never before in my life have I been on a steady haircut appointment schedule with someone. With the last 2 years, I make an appointment once a month, and I go and get the haircut.
I'm on a steady haircut where it's like I get the same haircut every time. Like, I'm going to go get a haircut in the next several days, and I'll get the same haircut I've gotten at least the last few times. And most of the times over the last couple of years, the only time I didn't get the same haircut was I shaved my head a year ago.
Yeah.
Now. And so I couldn't get the haircut until I had enough hair again. But since then, I always get the same haircut now.
Are you going back to the same person?
No,
yeah,
it's always a different person.
Well,
I go to whoever's free on the day I want to get my hair cut.
Yeah. I mean, I rocked it that way for years. That was my strategy. Real fast, I want to add that in 1996 here from Eric Roberts, we have Heaven's Prisoners, which we've discussed here before.
Yes.
It's My Party that we've discussed on the program.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Couple of classics.
Public Enemies, which we have not talked about, which is
a
Mark L. Lester movie.
Oh, yeah.
We have The Cable Guy,
which we haven't talked about.
A movie called American Strays with...
Yeah, I remember that existing.
Yeah.
I do not remember Power 98 existing until we found out last episode that it existed.
Yeah, I had no idea it existed. American Strays, starring Luke Perry and Jennifer Tilly in her prime cleavage. And a film called Past Perfect, which is a science fiction film starring Eric Roberts as the main guy. But in the plot of Power 98, after this tragic death that happens, we move to Los Angeles, where we hear a dramatic classical music song playing during the transition.
And we immediately see a radio tower lighting red, right? That looks like a penis. I kept thinking throughout the film that it was a good phallic symbol for this movie.
Yeah, phallic 98.
Definitely, it looks more like a penis than the one in Phoenix did.
So this station is KOZY.
Cozy.
We meet Jason Gedrick, who plays a guy named John Price, who is a sound engineer at the radio station.
And we got some nice shots of radio dials and just radio things and stuff. The cinematography and shot selection and this, just kind of loving shots of studio equipment and things.
Yeah. There's no questioning that we're in a radio station.
I guess they really shot in a Phoenix radio station and maybe used that also as the LA one.
Oh, okay. John is recording.
They may have shot this whole movie in Phoenix and just said it was LA, but I'm not sure.
I wouldn't doubt it. John Price is recording an audition tape. He wants to be a DJ on the air.
Yes, while Waldo, the actual DJ, is asleep while the music plays.
Yeah, and Gedrick is bad-mouthing the classical music, saying
it's boring for people without a pulse.
Yeah, you know what? I listen to classical music radio.
I have a very, very low pulse, and I do too.
Yeah. So then some kind of alert sound comes on, and that's when he wakes up the Jack Betts guy. What's his name?
Waldo.
Jack Betts as Waldo.
Not Hunt Powers as Waldo.
Who wakes up from his nap and introduces he announces that the song that was playing was Requiem in D minor by Mozart, one of his requiems, and then he cues a song. Do you remember the next song that he cues?
Is it Gustav Mahler?
Yeah, it's Mahler's Dead Child Symphony.
Yes.
Which I thought was foreshadowing some dead children, but spoiler, that we don't see any dead children in the film. I was disappointed.
Unfortunately.
I was super disappointed. One of the first of many disappointments to come from Power 98.
Yes.
So the boss of this radio station is sweating over the ratings because they're not doing too well. And Gedrick asks his boss if he will listen to his audition tape. And the stressed out boss is like, I make no promises. I'll try.
The boss is played by, I forgot to mention this guy when we did who were notables, Michael Mantell. He's been in lots of things, but he's in a lot of John Sayles movies. I remember him specifically as the little champion in 8 Men Out, who is the money collector for Michael Lerner's Arnold Ross theme in it. He's kind of a muscle or go-between for a henchman for Arnold Ross theme, and he's quite good in 8 Men Out, which I watched again very recently, which had Kevin Tighe from In Cold Blood.
Cool. I've been wanting to watch that. I've been feeling the 8 Men Out. I've been feeling John Sayles.
I think it's on Amazon Prime right now.
Perfect. We see John Price driving home to his sizable suburban home in LA. He's not doing too bad for himself.
No, it is like, he lives with his girlfriend, Jenny Garth, right?
I found it strange that he parked all the way on the other side of the street, I guess for the sake of the shot. But there's all this, there's all this curb space on the other side right in front of his house. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Well, maybe it's one of those streets in LA where you can't park in certain places for a certain amount of time. Like on my street in LA, on either Monday or Tuesday, you can't be on one of the sides of the street because
even in straight up neighborhoods where nothing's going on.
Yeah. And then now, even on the street where you used to be able to park all day, now it's like you can only park there for 2 hours during the day. But overnight, he should be okay. But maybe his shift at the radio station means he'll be sleeping during some of the hours where you'd have to move your car.
Or the street cleaning hours.
Yeah, and you get a nice ticket there.
Yeah, I never like to talk about the way I would make the movie if I did. But if I had control over this entire cinematic universe that Power 98 takes place in, I would make it to where he could park his car in front of his house.
I would also make it the same in that people in this movie seem to make an outsized amount of money. You bringing up the house is pretty funny because we'll get
Yeah,
to
he's
like
doing
just
okay.
how much people are making in this movie.
Yes. How many times have you been towed, Roy? Can you think of off the top of your head?
At least once.
Oh, that's it? That's not bad. I've been towed maybe 3 times in my life. All of them took place in California. One time it was because I used to park on the street, and on weekends when I was living near Venice, I would walk everywhere. So I'd go out and walk through the back alley, and if I needed to go to the store or whatever, and I wouldn't get in the car unless I was going somewhere until Monday to go to work. So Monday I'd go out front to go to work. There's no truck there. What happened was there had been a marathon,
Yes.
and they didn't advertise the marathon until would have been after I parked there.
I watched
No
Marathon Man the
signage or
other day.
anything.
Another so shockingly homoerotic movie.
Yeah, I don't remember it being homoerotic.
There, I didn't remember it either, but it's like half the movie, Roy Scheider or Dustin Hoffman are unnecessarily nude.
Yeah, I know that. I remember Scheider having his shirt off and having like a sweaty grappling. That scene
He's
where
like
the guy
super
tries
ripped.
to
It's like,
get him with the
yeah,
cord, the razor cord,
yeah.
and it cuts into his hand. That's to me gnarlier than the teeth pulling, as far as like making you want to wince.
Yeah, what's funny is the teeth pulling is remembered as being such a wincy scene, but it's kind of, I don't know if time has gone by. I've just been desensitized, but it doesn't really.
It's not as shocking.
No, maybe it was the first time I watched it, or I don't even know if it ever was. I do like that movie though.
I refuse to believe that it was ever shocking.
Yeah.
Even Roy Scheider believes. What else happens here? Gedrick goes into this nice house, and we meet Jenny Garth, who plays his girlfriend Sharon. She does reveal that she works for a law firm, but she's not a lawyer.
And she says when she's a partner at the law firm that she'll buy him his own radio station.
Yeah, so she knows about his hard luck working for
So if you're
this.
a lawyer, once again, if you work at a law firm, you can afford that house in LA. But if you're a law partner, you can afford a radio station.
Let's run back for just a second. How did you feel about Gedrick's audition that he was recording? Did you feel like he was charismatic, like he could carry his own radio show?
Oh man, this is one of my favorite things about this movie, or things that I thought about a lot.
Yeah.
The answer is hard to say because he has the squeaky sped up voice, which made it extra funny. But it made me think that where they should have made the movie where he had that kind of voice from the start and was terrible. His audition tape wasn't very good.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Well, the dialogue isn't helping him out much.
No.
In fact, the dialogue doesn't help out anyone in this movie who really everyone in this movie tries really hard.
Yeah, they do.
But man, it's just not very well written. But we're getting off the topic, but I felt like I know why this movie got made. I mean, it's a great pitch. If you could pitch this movie, it's goofy, but it has a perfect Hitchcockian premise to it where people that bankroll thrillers would be like, oh, that's good, let's make that.
Yeah, totally.
So as far as how did I like it, no, I mean, he doesn't have the right charisma at all. He's never going to make it.
That might be good.
But I just wish they would given him even just 1 or 2 scenes where he kind of discusses like what kind of show does he want, Isn't that part of wanting to be on the air?
We
It's like you
never
have a
find that out.
vision. Yeah, you never know what his vision is as a DJ. We know
Well,
what
initially, I guess you'd have to assume that it would be just to fit into the framework of the classical music station.
he just wants to be on the air, but he doesn't. Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to rock the boat with any kind of innovation at all.
First job.
But Carlin Pickett is more of a seasoned radio personality, and so he's got his own interesting thing going on. He goes to work the next day and finds out that the old boss has been fired. This is where we meet that that Fife actor. Maybe we see him before, but we meet Roger,
who's another sound engineer, another show producer.
Yeah, and he's got a classic 90s floppy haircut with the round glasses. Like he looks very firmly 1996 to me. Even earlier 90s look to him, in fact. But he and Gedrick go in and meet the new boss, played by Tobolowsky, Stephen Tobolowsky from Sleepers. Remember that movie? Gives away the password in Sleepers. His name is Harris. He explains that they have changed the station to KRZY.
Wait, what's the password in Sleepers?
I don't remember. something personal from the guy because he's the code master.
Was that Kevin Bacon's password?
No, not that, Sleepers.
You're referring to Sneakers.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. But the more I think about it, in Sneakers, it's not what it is
The password wasn't it like my voice is my password?
no, the lady's trying to get him to say something. Remember, she seduces him and she's trying to, it's that actress from
Almost nothing.
no, she was in a bunch of shit. It's the lady from Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, it is. What's her name?
It's Mary
Mary
McDonnell.
McDonnell. There you go.
Stands with fist, and she like seduces him and goes on a date, and she's like, I've always wanted to hear a man say this word, and whatever it is, that's the password. That's how they do it. But the reason why I loved the first Mission Impossible movie was because I was such a big fan of Sneakers, and those movies are pretty similar. The crew of guys, espionage. I would give the edge to Mission Impossible, but I also would tell everyone out there to watch the film Sneakers, not starring Eric Roberts.
It's another Phil Alden Robinson movie.
Sneakers?
Yeah, much like Field of Dreams, which was discussed recently on this program.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought perhaps Redford himself directed it, but he's just in it. So Tobolowsky, what were we talking about? He's changing the format. They're going into more of a talk radio format to try and boost ratings.
Yeah, their ratings suck.
So KRZY, Power 98.
Yeah, now they're crazy. They've gone from cozy to crazy.
So when you were living in LA, did you listen to the Power 98 radio station?
I still live in LA, and I do not. I would listen to, if I was flipping around on the dial, I'd be more of a K-Earth, or what's the 95 point something that has classic rock? And then, there seems like there's an oldie station even further down the dial. It's been a long time since I've listened to regular radio. Even talking about cord cutting, I was also a car cutter out in LA. And even when I rent a car, I just listen to Spotify.
I remember you
now
telling
I
me
listen to XM
brake
radio
cutter.
in the
You
car.
worked for the mafia. I never listened to the radio in LA. I always was listening to CDs or at the time I had an iPod.
I listened to a lot of
CDs. A rap
R&B
station in LA that I thought was actually called Power 98.
I believe there is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Which makes it confusing when you look this up on YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't really look to see where it was being broadcast from, but there was a ton of Power 98 FMs that would pop up.
Yeah, maybe that's New York. I don't know. You're probably right.
You know what I'm looking at?
I would listen to a little of the R&B station, I guess.
You know what I have in front of me right now from my Cali days, long ago, is a sticker for this radio station out of Ventura, 1450 AM, The Boomer, which was a really great oldie station.
Was it out of Ventura or was it out of LA?
I thought it was out of Ventura County area.
They would have these meetings, these boomer breakfast meetings where people would bring classic cars and stuff. And they were always like in El Monte. I think that might have been out of LA and just had that longer stretch of.
You love to come on here and just fucking correct me every time I say something.
I think that might have been an LA station.
Yeah.
And then it eventually got bought out by one of those, whatever, the Clear Channel or whatever, and they just ruined it. That was a great station. They would play so many out of the way oldies and such a variety of songs. And
yeah,
that was the greatest radio station
ever.
Yeah.
I lived in a house with guys. We were early cord cutters because this house that I lived in, we didn't have cable. We just watched movies, and they had a nice little sound system, and the Boomer would be playing all the time. Now, according to my intern just came in with some paperwork. The first thing that comes up here is after 73 years, AM is gone. This AM is gone for good. And it says that the Boomer was a radio station serving Ventura County, California.
Ah, you were right. Way to go.
So don't ever correct me again, Larry Drake. Where are we in the plot now?
The Richmeister.
So we finally see Eric Roberts again after a little gap here. He comes into the new boss's office and meets Gedrick and that other Jim Fife guy. And then we move into Pickett's first show in LA, right?
So after seeing him break down after that girl dies, he's now in a new city with the new show. So I was thinking, is he kind of the anti-Fisher King?
Yeah, what happens in that movie? Jeff Bridges quits or something?
Yeah, he becomes basically a wastrel after
After the guy kills himself on air.
Well, he finishes a show and he tells a guy that women will never go for him or something, that yuppies
Oh
will never go
yeah.
for him. And then the guy
Yeah.
goes to a bar
That's
and
right.
shoots it up and kills a bunch of people and himself.
Yeah, and that's Robin
But then it
Williams'
sends him
wife
into
is
a
involved in it.
tailspin. And Robin Williams gets all that blood blown guts blown all over his face.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's funny. So Carlin Pickett is kind of like the opposite in that he just straight up leans into it.
Yeah,
He
just gets
like
another
doubles
job.
down and goes even.
Also, before the Dale Belowski brings in Carlton Pickett, when he reveals the new format, Jason Gedrick says he doesn't think that the current DJs will be able to handle the talk radio format. And
Oh
Tobolowsky says,
yes.
like, well, I fired them all, and I was thinking it'd be funny if we just saw a montage of them trying and failing
That would have been pretty classic.
to do shock jock stuff.
Which is kind of like the plot of News Radio. Did you ever watch that show?
Oh, I watched a lot of news radio.
Yeah, it's like I think the show
Remember, I'm the
begins.
one that asked Andy Dick if he remembered calling Jimmy James Doobie Keebler.
Yep, I do remember that. What I should have said for the sake of continuity on the show is, hey, I remember you mentioned something from News Radio 5 episodes ago. Yeah, what is his name? Dave Foley kind of comes in and takes over and has to fire people in the beginning of that show. It's kind of a format change thing that happens in that. But I mean, think of all the radio stuff that was going on in this time period. You had Howard Stern.
We haven't really gotten into it, but we get into some heavy Howard Stern style stuff here.
Yeah, and Private Parts, I think, came out the year after this, or
1 year after this. You were right. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna send my intern to look it up. Yeah, so you got that going on. You got Frasier, you got News Radio, like the kind of obsession with radio and shock jocks was a big thing. I never really got into shock jocks. Were you a Howard Stern person?
Really couldn't stand him. No, in fact, I'll only ever check out Howard Stern things online, even if it's like a guest I really wanted to hear what they said. Like I would watch when he has Norm Macdonald on. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't care for the shock jock format at all.
No, not for me, even though our show is kind of shock jockey.
No way.
Oh,
Although I
yeah.
did think that, yeah, that
You and your racial humor, Roy.
You're very much Carlton Pickett. I'm John Price.
You're mild-mannered John Price.
Yeah.
Julie, I hope the radio is on. Go ahead, Joy.
I can't believe I'm doing this, Mom.
All right. We have 4 volunteers from our engineering staff to help us with a new segment called Rate the Butts. Are you ready, guys?
Get set. Show us your goods. Da, 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 da.
All right, Joy, number 1.
Well, number 1 is not bad.
Hear that, number 1? You are not bad.
Hey, number 1, how about flexing those butt cheek muscles for Joy? There you go.
Wait a minute. I think he likes doing that too much. Number 1, I have a question for you. Do you like girls?
Let me translate. Yes, he does.
Good man. Okay, Joy, number 2.
Number 2. Ow! Very firm.
All right.
All right. Way to go, number 2.
Joy, number 3.
Number 3 is a little hairy.
You're a little hairy, number 3.
They say the heart of rock and roll is in Cleveland. And from what I've seen, I believe them.
All right, I'm back.
Yo, well, we're talking about Power 98. Can't remember the subject we left off on, but in the plot.
Shock jocks.
Yeah.
Did you think that the Lisa Thornhill, the lady that dies in the beginning of this movie, that she kind of looked like Mary McDonnell?
No.
Okay.
I liked the way this lady looked. What was her name?
Lisa Thornhill. She's had a long career too. She's actually been in tons of stuff over the years.
Yeah, she looked familiar. I'm trying to locate her in the credits. What was her character's name?
She's pretty much they almost list people in the order they appear in the movie. She's second. She gets billing over Jason Gedrick. In fact, they might be listed in
I see
the order they appear.
I was looking too low. Well, I don't know. She kind of has young Lorraine Bracco-ness about her.
I disagree.
I don't know. Yeah.
I heavily disagree. I think she looks like a thinner Mary McDonald.
Yeah, the picture that they have of her was reminding me of Karen. Why did you do that, Karen?
I disagree.
Because of her hair or something like that. But so we see Pickett doing his thing, and then on the other side, in the engineering booth, we see Gedrick and his buddy really cracking up at all of the radio dirty talk.
Oh yeah, Roberts is doing a thing about what do you call your having radio callers call in and talk about what they call their penis, or is this the one where the lady is calling and this is the one where she's
she'll
like
do
the lady with
anything
the
for
pretty
tickets.
voice. Yes,
She's trying to get concert tickets, so he gets her to take her clothes off on the air,
and they're just cackling. We got a naked lady on there.
No way, man. I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, they're really freaking out.
They're all about it, which is hilarious because later on, I'll just say it now because I'll forget, but later on, there's a part where Gedrick is telling his girlfriend, he's telling Jenny Garth, he's like, you think I want to be on this guy's sleazy show? I'm thinking, yeah, you do.
Because you
every
love
time
it.
it shows you on there, yeah, every time it shows you in those scenes, like he's all into it.
But he makes fun of the show too, Eric Roberts, for being not very sophisticated later. And he's like, you were laughing. I saw you.
Yeah, he himself calls him
was
out in the
all
movie.
about it in this scene.
Yeah. So yeah, it gets into the Roberts asking the lady to tell him a pet name.
The Jim Fife and Jason Gedrick's response is really funny because they're radio professionals, and not only are they surprised to hear it coming from their station, but it's like they've never heard of a shock jock ever.
Right. Yeah.
It's like this is like something from another world to them. It's like blowing their minds.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if this movie, the way the movie should have gone is Eric Roberts should have been from the future, and he should have been the first shock jock who travels back somehow.
I think that's the plot of Past Perfect.
Is it?
Yeah, he's a shock jock from the future.
Oh, damn.
He travels back to the past to 1950s.
All the great ideas
blasts Eisenhower America.
What is this movie all about? I've never heard of it. Like,
I just told you.
When is it from? I mean, like Past Perfect?
1996.
The same year?
Didn't you just read it as one of the titles of Eric Roberts movies from 1996? Did I invent this?
Oh yeah, that's what that was called. I don't understand what makes you ever believe I remember anything that I say. Like, I'm trying to roll on, man, and get this plot out. And like, I discussed an obscure 1996 Eric Roberts title that was a science fiction movie, and you're like, you don't remember saying that, bro? Of course I don't. I'm not even drunk. I'm just I'm drinking a kombucha. Do you like kombuchas, Roy?
No.
Oh yeah, some people don't like them. I like them.
Nasty. Drinking coffee.
After the big show, Eric Roberts stops Gedrick to tell him that he's listened to his audition tape. This might not be that same day, but it's at some point after one of the shows. He thinks he has a lot of potential. He invites him out for some drinks, and so they go to this club.
This is we're starting to get into some stuff here where first we have the show where he asks callers to call in and say what they call their penis, and I was going to ask you, what do you call your penis?
Do you have a pet name for yours?
Well, I call mine Worm or Mim for monkeypox injection machine. Does Eric Roberts basically dress like Indiana Jones without the hat and man purse in this movie?
He's got a crazy leather jacket
and white shirt and khaki pants.
It's a weird collarless leather jacket.
It looks kind of cool. I mean, he's pulling it off.
It looks cool on him. So
this movie's kind of like Fight Club.
Yeah.
And definitely part of that whole genre that movies where there's the bad influence friend that's cool.
Yeah. Bad influence movies. Isn't there a movie that's called Bad Influence?
Yes.
James
it's a
Spader?
much better movie than this. Yes. And Rob Lowe is the bad influence friend and Bad Influence.
There you go. Yeah. Of course, Wall Street was the major movie I was thinking of while watching this.
That's a classic too of the genre. You're right.
Kind of a bad influence thing, but a media type. Yeah, this is a bad influence movie is To Die For. I was really thinking about To Die For. with Nicole Kidman when I was watching this. How she
Is she a
influences
bad
those,
influence on Ileana Douglas
on
or
those
those kids?
teenagers to do stuff, right? Doesn't she
Oh, yeah.
manipulate them?
I look at this as more of a different thing, where it's like the secondary character fantasizes about being the bad influence guy to some extent, which
It is a
definitely Wall
little bit of a
Street,
different vibe.
definitely Wall Street falls into that
Yeah,
with Bud
mild-mannered guy.
Fox and Gordon Gekko.
The classic dynamic, Roy, goes all the way back to Sal Paradise and Dean Moriarty in On the Road.
Yeah, it's an even more classic
Before
genre
that, there
than
was nothing like it.
yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's Sweet Smell of Success.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know
it
which
probably
one
goes
predates
back
the other.
forever.
Yeah,
There's probably a
probably does.
some Greek shit about that has this dynamic in it. But they're at the
But
club.
it was a hot genre at this time. I can't. When was the last time you remember one of these movies coming out? Can you think of one newer than Fight Club? I'm sure there are, but
yeah, I mean, there were some that came after, but I'm on the spot. I don't do well. Shit, I'm still trying to think of movies that I know I've seen where people are killed off screen. But yeah, they're not as popular. It's not as popular a genre. And it seems like there's some female movies that do this as well that we're forgetting about, with two ladies that look up to each other.
Oh yeah.
One,
We are
mild-mannered lady that looks up to a more liberated woman.
Yeah, this is definitely a thing that exists, that I'm struggling to think of one as well.
Yeah. Of course, you have Heavenly Creatures, the
I don't think I've ever seen
Jackson movie. But in the plot here, when they're at the club, this is where Carlin Pickett recruits John to come and be on his show as a co-host. This is really where the plot starts kicking into higher gear.
It'd be funny if he never listened to Jason Gedrick's audition tape. He tells me I'd listen to the tape and it was good.
Yeah.
Which we've already discussed, that it didn't seem like it was very good, but it would also be funny if he just never listened to it. And we had a shot of him later, or just something later where he reveals that he never listened to it.
I never listened to it. That would have been great. So what else happens here? So John gets super excited. You see him practicing in bed, wakes his girlfriend up.
Yeah, and Jenny Garth's like, turn off the TV. She thinks he's the TV.
Which I would have, if I would have been practicing and she said that, I would have kind of smiled like, ooh, I do have the goods. She doesn't know the difference between me and a TV announcer. But he doesn't really smile. He just kind of rolls over without an expression on his face. So we see this raiding the butts thing happening.
Yeah, this was what I was thinking. It was very much a Howard Stern thing.
Yeah, on the radio show.
They have a sexy lady on to rate men's nude asses, which is our first nudity in this erotic thriller.
Yeah, so you mentioned the cinematography, which is decent. It's pretty strong. No complaints. The acting is, like we said, people are trying really hard, but this kind of stuff, it just doesn't come off. It doesn't sell the excitement, or I have this feeling about hijinks in a lot of things never translate as exciting as the writer or director think that they are, and usually, like, we went to film school and people would pitch stuff a lot in class, and it would usually be something like a hijink or some kind of anecdote that someone thinks is going to translate cinematically, and it already in your head you're thinking like, I don't know, this is going to be flat. It's going to come off as flat. You know what I'm saying?
This certainly does. I wanted to talk about this ass contest where the lady rates the asses. Yeah. The contestant number 3 is played by a guy named Mike Cartman, who was also a PA on this movie, and he has 5 acting credits on IMDb. All are uncredited.
Weird.
He's the contestant who she says his ass is hairy.
Yeah.
But then he ends up winning.
I wonder if it's always his ass that's been in all these other movies.
Did you notice they had 4 contestants, and then there's some kind of mistake with the movie, I feel like, where they never rate contestant number 4. They rate contestant number 3 twice, and then he wins. And it seems like contestant number 4 was probably supposed to be the winner, not the hairy ass guy. But instead she says contestant number 3 has a hairy ass, and it cuts to something else. It's like the scene kind of does something else, and the contest becomes background, and you just hear, yes, oh, contestant number 3 says you're all right. Contestant number 3 is our winner, and we never hear about contestant number 4.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really pay that close attention to all.
Oh yeah, I think we hear Tobolowsky or somebody listening to it. That's right.
An office woman comes in to the room and distracts John and tells her, like, kind of mouths to him that they want to be seen after the show. You're more of a guy who was invested in those man's asses and wanted to know who was going to win. I was interested in that.
See, you think if hijinks don't play, to me, a contest or something almost always plays, where it's like, that's what I was talking about with sports movies having the built-in element of you want to see who wins the sports game.
Yeah.
The same thing with a gambling picture. You want to see who wins the gambling event. And in this one, I wanted to see who would win the contest.
Yes.
Heck, when they have a pie eating contest in a movie, I want to see who wins the pie eating contest.
You just have more of that competitive brain, sports brain. I don't care about that stuff as much.
Yeah, I really do. I always want to see who wins these games and stuff. I do like to see that in the movie.
For instance, in A League of Their Own, I couldn't even tell you if those ladies won at the end of it. All I cared about was how they bonded throughout it.
And if they included players of other races.
Yeah. Did you see they remade that film as a show?
That's the only thing I know about it, is that I see commercials for it immediately. There are African-American women.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that must be part of the thrust of the new show.
Yeah.
I don't know what the actual facts behind that All-American Ladies League are. So I don't know if that's part of the real story or not, or if that even matters, or if maybe the show is about that not being a part of it. I have no idea.
You give it the benefit of the doubt.
I give it the benefit of, I don't remember being as into A League of Their Own as other people. So it's like this show really holds. I'm not interested in it.
When did the Jackie Robinson stuff happen? When did that integration start?
The late 40s?
Yeah. Well, if League of Their Own takes place during World War II. That's the reason the ladies are playing. Let me give you a history lesson, Roy. A lot of men went away to fight that war. So these guys go into Tobolowsky's office and they kind of think they're going to get in trouble for being too edgy. But instead, he is super pleased because they have these high ratings, and he offers to double their salary if they can double the ratings. So he mentions here that they have a 12 share, which means something good because they have a good response to it.
Oh yeah, I meant to look up what shares in the radio were common back then and stuff. I never did.
Yeah, I didn't get very far before I just got bored with it. But what I did learn, though, is just like the way that they measure this stuff is the same way as they did television ratings with the Nielsen thing, where they have certain people who are designated and they follow these listeners to see like what the trends are. So that's how they gauge it. But as far as shares, I don't know. I mean, it's got to do with advertising, but yeah, Tobolowsky tells them that they're doing good, and so we see them as a result celebrating again at the club. This is where Gedrick explains to Roberts that he has a girlfriend, right as Roberts calls a few girls over to the table.
Oh yes, and earlier Jim Fife has told Gedrick what a lucky man he is, and Gedrick's like, I know this, I have the perfect lady and stuff.
Yeah, he shows a picture of her to Eric Roberts, and he's like, says something kind of dismissive, like, yeah, she's all right. Gedrick is like, all right, come on, man, she's a knockout. But hey, also, it's not just about looks, man. So
this also called into question to me, or not into question, but it also made me just think of the time when you would have a picture of your girlfriend in your wallet, and whether or not
no phones.
If you had the picture of the girlfriend in your wallet before you'd been going out with her very long, if you were just an insane weirdo.
Yeah, we know probably one or two guys who were insane weirdos and had ladies' pictures in their wallets that they weren't with. I'm not going to say who that person is. He might be a listener. He might be on the mic right now. We just don't know. But yeah, that's a good point. This is before the phone times, when now it's like if you miss your lady or your loved one, whatever your preference is, you can look it up on the phone.
Yeah, and even before you're with the lady, there's just endless pictures of her online.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a girlfriend now.
No.
Just beat off to Facebook all day long.
Yeah, you can just like,
girls that you went to high
if you're
school with.
try to show your buddy. Yeah, exactly.
John also reveals to Pickett that he wants his own show. That's his big.
Oh, that is yeah, that's right.
I think he reiterates it. He said it before, of course, but he reiterates it here. And then the ladies come over, and after the club, Eric Roberts is hooking up with one of them pretty hot and heavy. Is it against a pole or a column of some kind? He's got her up
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
something, and
this is where we meet Leonora Scelfo as Cynthia. She gives Jason Gedrick her number, and she's trying to get him to come over for some wine and to talk, and just hear him talk like he's on the show and stuff. And he turns her down because of his girlfriend Jenny Garth. And then we just look over, and there's some heavy petting going on between Roberts and the other lady in the parking garage. They have a good laugh at it.
Yeah, so he resists her, but he does get her number. And so
when Roberts tempting Gedrick is a lot like when Edie tempts me
with ladies,
or just in life with the all the fame and fortune this show will bring us.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I know. I'm kind of play the devil's advocate, which also that's kind of one of those types of movies, right? The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and that one guy.
Yeah, in a way.
He's more of a mentor, an older mentor.
Yeah, and Wall Street, it's kind of Wall Street is almost like that too.
The older
where it's
mentor,
like it's not
bad influence.
Yeah, the bad influence mentor that sucks you into this world. But so is this in a way. This is also like that.
Well, this is my favorite part of the movie is after this thing here outside the club, we see John in bed with Jenny Garth and the phone rings. Now, we don't know if it's the same night. If it's the same night, it's extra hilarious. I think you're kind of led to believe that it's a little bit later, maybe a couple days later or something like that. But Gedrick answers the phone, and it's Pickett on the other line, and Eric Roberts doesn't have a shirt on, so we get the Roberts physique here. He's very sweaty,
insanely ripped.
Yeah, he's very cut in this.
What were you eating while this scene was playing?
Well, it's a fan favorite. Remember there was an episode where I described getting the mashed potatoes and beef tips and mixing them together?
Mm-hmm.
I was revisiting.
You were having the same thing?
Well, I was having that in a much earlier episode. I talked about it. Remember?
I know, but what were you eating during this one?
That's what I was eating.
That's what I just said.
And that's what I just answered. I was eating.
No, my bad. I was having homemade cheesecake with homemade chocolate sauce and homemade strawberry sauce and ice cream in it.
Good Lord.
Butter brickle ice cream in big bowl.
Good Lord, Roy. Well, how did you feel when you saw Eric Roberts twirling that thing? I couldn't quite figure out what it was. At first, I thought it was a nunchuck, but it's not.
I thought it was the phone cord.
No,
it's not.
Crazy.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, what were those old? It was an older technology where you would pull it apart. It was an exercise instrument.
Oh, that's right. We see his exercise bike in the background.
It looks a little bit like that, but even for a second, I thought it was a noose.
And we also see here like that. I don't know if it's quite in this shot or if it's just slightly later, like how insane Eric Roberts' house is, which is another one of our, how much are people making in this movie?
Classic sleazed in rich guy bachelor pad.
Yeah, it's got the crazy door and everything. Like it isn't for LA and for a guy that's just moved to LA from Phoenix from being a radio DJ and hasn't gotten his raise yet. Like it is a great pad.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, they were he was just on like a trial there when they first hired him, or not making enough to do that, unless he was like a massive star in Phoenix. But
we do find out that he was doing pretty well in Phoenix. He's even asked why he left for LA.
Yeah, how about that? From the outside later on in the film, the door looks round like a Hobbit door.
It has weird, like
framed,
very stylish, like windows and stuff in it.
Yeah, framed by a big circular thing. When you see it from the exterior, and it looks like a Hobbit hole door.
Pretty crazy.
John comes over and
this was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Here's the V-neck.
It's the classic Roberts V-neck.
Yes.
But the guy who wants to be Roberts is wearing it.
Yes. Yeah. Now,
so it's like,
whose wardrobe idea was this? Do you?
That's an excellent question. I like to believe that it was Eric Roberts' wife's.
Yeah.
But I saw that the costumes for this film, this is not one of the movies where she worked in the costume department. The costumes of this film were done by Dorothy Amos, and the clothing itself allegedly was supplied by something called Hollywood Rags with 2 G's Incorporated. And I tried to call Hollywood Rags to ask them about this movie, but their number was disconnected, and it turned out that they went defunct in 2020. They were a casualty of the pandemic.
Yeah. You think that might be D-Roy's excuse ultimately for why you couldn't get a hold of him?
Yes.
I went defunct, man. I went defunct.
Yeah. He's always talking about defunk.
This didn't quite read to me as him trying to look like Roberts just yet.
It did to me immediately. I was like, oh man, this is some good meta stuff.
If you, yeah,
Gedrick
I mean,
is looking up to Roberts and wearing the clothes Roberts wears in other movies, not this one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had a knowledge like we have of all these films, but
Yes, if you've been watching Eric Roberts movies nonstop for over a year.
Yeah, you recognize the V-neck, but it just looked like a guy who rolled out of bed and threw on like a hoodie over his nightshirt.
Yeah, the hoodie is not the hooded zip up.
It's everything's very ill-fitting on him in this scene, and he looks really funny compared to Roberts, who's all suave. When we see him on the phone, he's got the shirt off with the sweaty physique, but when we see him here, has like a nice, perfectly ironed white shirt tucked in and everything. He offers him a drink, and he pours him a glass of wine in a champagne glass, which cracked me up. Pickett wants to go for a drive. He mentions that he's like, it's time that we top ourselves. So that's why he called him there, is that he's been scheming up ideas all night.
Before they go, when they're drinking the wine, this is also where Eric Roberts opens the drawer that has the gun in it, and he takes the pills.
Yes.
And he asks him what the pills are. He's like, what are those? He's like, I don't know. They're yellow.
Yeah. You see the gun. I guess it's communicated that Gedrick sees it too.
Well, that was a good line though. So,
oh yeah,
does Eric Roberts just love yellow things, or is he just making they're yellow?
I don't know, but he swallows a few, which doesn't quite come back. But I don't think we see him take them again, and that's another massive Power 98 disappointment for me after coming off of Depth Charge, where we get lots of pill popping.
Oh yeah,
but
you're right.
Revealed that he has some kind of a substance abuse thing going on. But
hanging out with Jason Gedrick just makes Eric Roberts do pills.
We see them. Maybe he just had a headache, Roy. You just don't know. We see them at a BMW dealership in the middle of the night, looking in longingly at this convertible BMW.
Yeah, well, it was one of the things that Roberts suggested that Gedrick would dream of having with some German engineering.
Right.
And now it turns out that, of course, Jason Gedrick does dream of having German engineering. He wants this specific BMW, and he even has a color picked out. Did you catch what the color was?
Something blue. I forget the specific.
It was hard to understand in the sped up thing. I thought he said poem blue.
Whoa. I have to
maybe
to make a note of that for the next episode.
Yeah, see if you can figure that out.
So BMW is a German car. I forget what it stands for. I thought it stood for
Bavarian Motor Works.
Oh, okay. There we go. Do you like BMWs?
Depends. I watch a lot of car auctions with my dad of fancy cars, and the BMW M3 from just after this, I guess, maybe even in this period, but I think just after is a pretty cool car. But a lot of the old BMWs and newer ones, they don't look that cool to me compared to other cars.
Yeah. I like the way the old ones look.
They're supposed to be good.
I don't think I've ever driven a BMW. I drove an Audi one time and liked it a lot. Felt like a king as I drove that thing, which someone told me that they don't make those anymore. Audis are discontinued. You know anything about that? I don't know.
Seems like Audis are still very much around.
I still see them on the road a lot.
2023 Audi Q3 luxury SUV could be yours.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think maybe you're thinking of Pontiacs.
No, he was definitely talking about Audis.
Or Infinities. They still make Infinities. I don't think they make Infinity anymore.
Hey, fuck you, Audi Murphy.
But Audis definitely exist.
So after the car thing, they end up overlooking LA at night, and this is where Pickett comes up with this idea for a segment of the show called My Best Crime.
Yes.
And he's going to have people call in and confess to things. And he's obsessed with the show going national. He wants to go
Coast
beyond.
to coast.
He wants to go coast to coast FM with
I don't think
with George
we've
Norrie.
mentioned how many crazy classic Eric Roberts line readings are in this.
He definitely has the best lines of the film.
When we talked last episode about how thankfully restrained he was as the commander going crazy and losing his mind.
Yeah.
This is not restrained Roberts. This is your overacting wild Roberts that you were hoping for.
Yeah. I did like the part where he's on the phone with the lady stripping and he was like, well, thank you very much, Lisa. I have an incredible Woody right now.
Yeah, when he's asking about the names for what she calls the penis, like he uses a lot of words, and
there's a lot of
that he settles on Woody.
Hilarious juvenile stuff in this of like, when's the last time you slammed the salami? Where it seems like the greatest, Jaime Hellman felt like he was writing like the greatest dialogue ever when he was writing this stuff.
My best crime. I'm talking rape, incest.
Yeah. So in this scene, there's a part where he's
coast to coast.
John, people are fascinated by depravity. So then we instantly go into this and they're in the studio and they're getting kind of weak calls. One guy confesses to stealing a car when he was in high school and it's not making for good radio. And finally they get this anonymous caller who confesses to killing a woman. Remember the details of this murder?
He says, we were making love in an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah.
That's one
does. That she insults him or?
Yeah, she insulted him. No, that's in the other call. I think.
I don't remember what led
It's not in this one. In this one, it's very much the details of, we immediately recognize it as being like the beginning, except Eric Roberts did not kill that woman in the beginning, which becomes a big question, a big point of contention in this movie. He tried to save the lady in the beginning, but this guy calls in confessing to murdering the lady, and it's very much like the murder in the beginning.
Well, I have some ideas about that.
Okay.
But it's not, isn't anything that's ever explicitly explained, but this is just an idea that I have. But we'll get to that when we get closer to the end of the plot. So yeah, this confession happens and it kind of shocks both of those guys. I don't remember Robert's response.
So what were you thinking immediately this caller was?
Somehow related to Roberts.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was someone that saw it go down.
Yeah. I thought that maybe someone's trying to frame him or something, but I didn't overthink it. I was like, I'm just gonna see where
blackmail him.
Yeah, I thought about blackmail, but I was like, I don't know. I'm just gonna see where this goes, because I even kind of thought somehow it was him in some crazy, insane Scooby-Doo scheming way. Somehow it was set up. But yeah, the guy throws the lady over the side of an abandoned warehouse, and then on the phone, he doesn't want to say anything more and he hangs up. So after the show, John is talking to Pickett and asking him about it or something like that. And this is where Pickett explains to
Wilson Pickett.
Yeah, is where he explains to John Prine that it's his friend. I forget the friend's name. Kenny?
Eddie.
It's Eddie. Yeah, it's my friend Eddie.
Voiced by Matthew Lesher.
Yeah, and Lesher as Eddie. So John does not like this at all. He's like, no, we can't be, we're going to get kicked off of the radio.
Yeah, it's unethical.
Yeah. So has a ethical crisis here, and Roberts tells him, what does he tell him? I think maybe he promises him that he'll get him his own show.
That's the deal they strike.
Is that
that he's like, hey, look, this is good for him. He's like, no, he's like, somehow that he'll help him he'll get him his own show. And now that's John's idea. I forget exactly how Carlton Pickett gets him in on it. I think he tells him that he'll kind of beat him to the punch and tell him that it was his idea, or tell the bosses that it was John Price's idea somehow or something.
Oh, so he'll get him in trouble. He'll implicate him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
Later that night,
why John Price would blow the whistle and be the guy behind it. Once we start getting into some this makes no sense territory with this movie pretty fast here.
I think the bargaining thing is just that in this scene, though. I think it's just him promising he'll get his own show. But
I think he tells him that
threatening
I think he threatens him immediately. And then
Oh.
I could be wrong. And then Gedrick says, okay, but I want my own show. And he's like, okay, you got it. Because he's like, that's the deal. He's like, that's the deal. And he's like, all right, when we negotiate my contract, I'll make sure that it's stipulated that I won't sign unless you get your own show. Then he goes home and tells Jenny Garth that he's going to get his own show.
Yeah, and he tells her also that it was a fake guy, and she gets really mad at him for that. He gets kind of in trouble for
So she's
that.
gonna
And he's
go
like, I didn't
along
know
with
until
it?
afterwards, the next day at the radio station.
Oh, also when Eddie calls and tells about the woman falling to her death, it's how you killed her. He says, thanks. I needed to get this off my chest because I think I might do it again. And if I do, I'll call you and tell you about it.
Yeah, and he also says, like, I really love your program. It's the only thing really keeping me going. And the next day, Tobolowsky reveals to the staff at the radio station that Pickett's show has gotten a 37 share rating.
Which 24 was their goal, right?
Yeah, so
or
they
25.
just went massive, and so everyone's cheering and stuff. And then you see Roberts and Gedrick moving through the studio, and they pass by and see all these police officers in the studio going through the tapes. And so they go into Tobolowsky's office to talk, and I think the first thing they do is ask him about the police, and he's like, well, that's just because of the confession that happened. They just want to know, like, all they can. It's not a big deal. He kind of brushes it off as not being a serious thing. He's more excited about how good their ratings are. And this is where they explain to him that John wants his own show, but Pickett speaks for him. And so he tells Tobolowsky, he's like, he wants his own show, but he's still going to give me an hour at the start of mine, which was never part of the deal. So afterwards,
first Tobolowsky, he balks at the idea of giving Gedrick his own show because he'll have to bump DeSantos. And he's like, do you realize DeSantos makes $245,000 a year?
Yeah. Do we ever see DeSantos?
No, but I was thinking that, man, $245,000 a year for a radio DJ, that's almost as much as we make.
Right.
And another thing in the great world of this movie where it's like they're getting a raise, but this other guy, DeSantos, he makes $245,000 a year as a radio DJ for KRZY.
When I was watching this part of the movie, what else pissed me off big time was I was thinking to myself, the fucking Eric Roberts podcast gets a 38 share rating. You know, little brother. That's another thing we didn't mention.
Oh yeah, he calls him little brother.
Yeah, Eric Roberts calls him that throughout the whole movie. John is pissed off at him afterwards. After this meeting, they're outside and they're looking at this big billboard with them on it for the Wilson Pickett radio show. And he's like, yeah, that was never part of me being on your show was never part of the deal, or staying on your show for an hour. And I don't remember what gets.
Do you think Carlin Pickett is in reference to George Carlin?
Maybe. I don't know. It's a crazy ass name.
Yeah. Carl Perkins.
What do you think John Price is in reference to?
John Prine.
Yeah, I think that name, they came up with the name John Price like in
Jonathan Price.
1 second. Yeah, Jonathan Price
plays the guy that gets seduced by Ricky Roma, James Link, in the movie Glenn Ross.
After this scene where we see that billboard and they're arguing with each other, John immediately the next day goes out and buys that BMW. So we have a nice moment here where he's driving through LA, and
we have a great montage of the BMW buying montage and him driving around in it with some great music.
Yeah, looking super Richard Grieco. What's the movie where he becomes a spy?
If Looks Could Kill.
He looks very Looks Could Kill, very Joey Lawrence in this scene.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, so he pulls up to his nice house, I want to add again, and Jenny Garth is outside, instantly gives him shit for buying this car.
Spending money he hasn't even been paid yet.
Even made that money yet. She only says like 2 things, and he's like, you know what? I don't need this. And he jumps back in the car and just takes off.
And we have some funny acting by Gedrick EsotEric in this and a few other scenes where he's trying so hard and he's not as good as in this as he is in Depth Charge. He's doing a lot
Yeah.
of gesticulating,
Maybe
seeming
by
really. If you want to talk about Richard Grieco, Joey Russo, he's doing a lot of Italiano. Robert De Niro gesticulating in this movie,
maybe
in these domestic squabble scenes.
by the time of Depth Charge, maybe his acting chops would have been better enough to sell the line "I don't need this" a little bit better, because I feel like he
I don't need this.
He says it more as the movie goes on. So yeah, we see him in a restaurant on a payphone with a beer in his hand, and he calls up that gal, Cynthia. Yeah, he calls up Cynthia and asks her if she still is interested in that glass of
No, he doesn't ask her if she's still interested. He says it in a really creepy way. He says, "Hey, when you said you wanted me to come over and we drink wine and talk like on the show. Were you serious about that?"
He Chris Farley's it.
It's like, yeah, it was just very much like, if I was serious about it, I'm not now, sir.
So what happens? He goes to her place and something happens outside the door.
She shows up in lingerie.
Yeah.
She opens the door in lingerie.
Yeah. There's something is exchanged there. I don't remember what is said, but we know they're going to make love, Roy, and it's the sexiest part of the movie. I guess we could argue about that if you want.
I think this is our only part that has any female nudity, but
Yeah, it's the
even
sultriest.
with this, I think most of the nudity is still Jason Gedrick, which begged the question, do you think Bret Easton Ellis jerked off to Gedrick's ass in this movie?
Yeah, I thought that watching throughout the whole movie, I was like, oh man, I bet you Bret Easton Ellis has seen this movie more than once, and he ain't watching it for the aesthetics. Know what I'm saying?
That's exactly what he's watching it for.
Yeah, he's watching it for the candles in this scene. I've never seen so many candles. What do you think
I
about all
have.
those?
This was, I guess, a prime era for, well, I don't know, it's always a good time for candles, but the craziest candle scene I can think of is, maybe it's not even in the movie and it's been cut out and it's only in the director's cut. But have you ever seen, there's a scene in the movie True Romance, where Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette are in a bathtub in Christian Slater's apartment, and they are surrounded by like 1 trillion candles. It's freaking crazy. You're like, what part of Clarence Worley's world happened where he bought this many candles?
Yeah.
Just makes no sense.
Yeah, I can vaguely remember that, but the candles in this scene are pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's a deleted scene where they talk about Janis Joplin.
Okay. Maybe I never saw that.
Yeah,
this is an all-time Red Shoe Diaries.
Oh yeah.
Silk Stockings moment here.
For sure.
Of hooking up, some nice sultry music, probably saxophone. I don't remember now. Do you remember if there was saxophone?
I don't remember.
So he goes home and instantly gets busted. Let's just rip right into this.
Yes.
Like he goes home and he's like, sorry, Sharon. I'm sorry I'm late. I stayed out a little later than I thought I would. He says some bullshit. And instantly she's like, well, Cynthia called. Maybe you should go back and get your jacket. So he's just like instantly busted.
He tries to say she's like a prank caller fan of the show or something.
Yeah. Which
it's the
not
terrible excuse.
I don't know. I don't think it's out of the realm of reality.
Well, he's missing his jacket and they live together, so she could immediately see that he doesn't have the jacket.
Yeah, that's true.
That Cynthia said he left at her place.
Man, that's too bad. But she also says, I can smell her all over you.
Yes.
So she must have been just hosed.
This is also the scene where she says he's dressing like Carlin Pickett.
Yep.
But it's not the scene where he's wearing the V-neck, and it's not a scene where he's wearing like a white shirt tucked into jeans. No, this isn't where he's wearing the vest yet. In this scene, he's actually not dressed in any way like we've ever seen Carlin Pickett dressed yet.
No, he's
which
not.
Is
yeah,
very
this is like
weird.
A white sweatery kind of shirt.
Yeah, but it's also not like he used to dress in the earlier scenes in like a polo, short sleeve polo,
Yeah,
a
clean cut,
monochromatic, and then or in a
Ivy
white
League
button
boy.
down. Yeah, he dresses very conservatively, and I guess this and the V-neck with the hoodie are his first times dressing
Yeah.
at all casually. I guess I would say. I mean, I don't know. When she says it, it's not very. It was odd because I was like, I don't think we've seen Carlin Pickett wear anything like this.
Yeah, we haven't seen him transition into full Pickett style.
No.
She says they don't.
At
Don't
some
really
point, we do
communicate
see Eric
that.
Roberts in a V-neck sweater, a black sweater that's a V-neck that he also tucks in. I don't know if it's been yet, but it's still even still when she says he's dressing like Carlin Pickett, it's very weird.
So she moves out.
Only we true Roberts fans who saw him in the V-neck know that he is dressing exactly like Carlin Pickett.
You know how my memory is, Roy. I had to have seen Eric Roberts in at least 30 movies with V-necks before it started to register for me. You know what I
Movies
mean?
such as Saved by the Light,
A Fugitive, Among Us.
yes.
So
pretty much every 90s movie except this one.
yeah. And then, like I said, if you watch the Howard Stern, here's the shock jock connection. If you watch the Howard Stern interview with Eric Roberts, he's rocking a V-neck in his regular pedestrian clothes. Ginny Garth moves out, and that's when we get some more shouting of Jason Gedrick being like, you know what? I don't need you. I don't need this. So she's gone. He wakes up the next day, and the cops are outside of his house. So this is where we meet Pickens, not to be confused with Pickett.
Yeah.
And
Larry Drake.
I think it's Larry Drake. Roy, we can't be certain, but by God, he looks and sounds like him. And what are these guys' names? I don't know. Detectives.
Detective Wilkinson and uncredited Larry Drake performance.
Yeah, I don't have the TV guide listing here with me, but I think it was like Detective D'Amato was his name. So they want to talk about the guy that called in. So Gedrick goes down to the station with these guys, and they explain that they found a murder victim that matches the guy's call-in confession. They say that it happened in Phoenix, right?
Yes, but this is the next thing of the movie. No one ever connects up that Phoenix is where Carlton Pickett's just left.
Yeah, exactly. We see pretty gruesome pictures of the lady on the pavement with like a gnarly, busted up, gory leg.
He was describing a real murder in the city your coworker just left.
So how does this scene end? Is I guess they're waiting for the guy to call again. This basically is John finding out that the guy, even if he is
yes, Gedrick goes to Roberts's, and Roberts is wearing the same shirt now that Gedrick was wearing when Jenny Garth said he dressed like Eric Roberts.
Oh, okay, I didn't put that together.
But we've never
That's
seen
hilarious.
Roberts wear that shirt earlier in the movie.
Yeah, the order of it was not right. Yeah, what happens at the house here? He brings up, hey, man, the cops are asking, this guy's real. This guy really killed somebody. Is this where he's like, man, I knew Eddie was crazy, but not like this.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so this is where John starts really getting spooked, and he's like, well, we got to tell the cops about this. This might actually, is it at his house or is it at the station? There's something that happens at the radio station where that's in like a back supply room where Eric Roberts
or is it
throws him against the work.
I believe it's
bench.
what you're saying now. I don't think
Yeah.
this is at Roberts's house.
He puts
it
his
might,
hands
maybe it
on him.
is, but it seems like it's also is it at the, I guess it is at the station.
It's at the radio station. And
I thought it was another abandoned warehouse where they were at to make love.
Yeah. They're in this weird room and by themselves, and Eric Roberts is like, you're not going anywhere, and he keeps putting his hands on him.
You're right. They're
Gedrick
like in
throws
like some kind of supply room or something.
Yeah. And so Eric Roberts gets to do a little bit of martial arts in this scene here. He takes his arm and throws him back and puts him into a hold of some kind and warns him that he's going to go down if he says anything. Well, he also tries to scare John and tell him like, oh, we can't tell anyone. Eddie will kill both of us. That's his way. That's his first thing. Eddie will kill us. So then after that, what happens is Price finds out that Cynthia is the next victim.
And he also
Robert's
complains
killing
to
her.
Roberts that Pickett gave Cynthia his phone number.
Oh yeah.
I didn't appreciate that. So I guess she didn't. Yeah, she called the house.
He's on
He got
a
his.
car phone. Remember, Gedrick calls him, and he's like, "Well, now you're free. Now you can be with anyone you want." And
Yeah, he's like, yeah, watch. You can have any woman in LA, and there's a million of them, or something like that.
yeah, and so when he hangs up the phone, he's in the car with Cynthia. He's like stroking Eric Roberts' hair. So he set all that shit up. He set up the call in to get Gedrick's girlfriend to leave him and shit. So what else? So after the argument in the stockroom, Pickett kills Cynthia.
Yes,
You just
he
literally
poisons her.
fall to the ground.
She takes a drink of
drinking.
wine and then falls to the ground and
Foaming
dies.
at the mouth, and
Then the
Good
camera
night,
pans
baby.
or cuts
Sleep well.
and shows that Roberts is standing next to her dying.
yeah. So Price finds out about this. He sees it in the newspaper, and he says to himself, "This son of a bitch is following me." So he thinks that it's this Eddie guy is trying to frame him and set him up. So he starts to get really paranoid here in this part of the story.
When do we have where they play poker with the strippers on the air?
That's when the murderer calls the second time.
So
I think that happens right after this because they're playing strip poker and people are calling in as they're playing strip poker, and then one of the call-ins, as the cops are in the next room waiting so they're screening so they can trace the call, the murderer calls again and confesses, and this is where didn't he say he poisoned her? Isn't he describing what he did in the previous scene?
I believe so. Twice in this movie, the cops tell Gedrick things in very specific fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Like they tell him how long it takes them to respond to a call once they trace a number. And they also tell him how to identify if he's being poisoned with not cyanide, arsenic. When they find Cynthia's body, they're like
Cyanide
say,
smells
yeah,
like
it's just arsenic smells like burnt. The only you could drink it and have no idea. The only way to know is that it smells like burnt almonds.
Is it Larry Drake that says that?
Maybe.
How did you like Drake in this? Allegedly.
He has such a small character that I really thought he must be hard up.
Yeah, something about I don't know what happened here with him.
Isn't this prime Dr. Giggles era?
Dr. Giggles was from 92, so
okay, so it's beyond that.
Not far from that. You had the Darkman films in the early 90s.
Yeah, and he did all the Darkmans, or at least all the ones he was invited to. He was in Darkman 3, Die Darkman Die.
Yeah, and you said that he played a mentally handicapped man in LA Law.
Yes.
And that it really affected you when you were a kid.
Oh, yes.
So it says here that he won 2 Emmy Awards for that. It also says here
and that he won our hearts.
He won your heart, but Larry Drake is an Oklahoman.
Oh, crazy. He's also dead.
Yeah, he passed away in 2016. He was born in Tulsa, and he is an alumnus of the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool way to live. It says here he was in American Pie 2. I don't remember him in that film, but I don't know what happened with this movie. It's crazy.
Maybe he was playing the guy who fucked a pie and thought it was a lady.
Do you think they didn't like him? I wonder if he had a reputation for being difficult, or if he just something else happened.
What do you mean?
He was cut out of the credits, so
this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to be in them.
Maybe had he lived longer, some Me Too things would have come out about Larry Drake.
So watching the end credits of the movie, his name wasn't in them?
No.
Wow.
Not at all. Not in the opening, not on IMDb, not on Wikipedia, not on Letterboxd, nowhere. Memory hold.
Wow.
Pretty wild. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I didn't know he was an Okie.
Me neither. I did notice when they're doing the strip poker game with the girls, once Eddie calls in, they do all these reaction shots of people throughout the scene of him calling, as you would, you got to show what people are doing while they're taking this call. But they never show the strippers again. They're just totally forgotten. Like they just disappeared off the face of the earth once Eddie called in.
Yeah.
Like he
Where did
keeps
they go? They
talking.
just
Yeah, they're just
they were
sitting off screen.
holograms.
Yeah, they're just sitting off screen, like half naked, waiting to take off their bras while this guy describes this murder. And they're just never seen.
Okay, so the next thing that I remember is this is where Price can't go home.
Another fact of
Okay.
of this movie is that Jason Gedrick was the star of Iron Eagle, but Larry Drake was the star of Karate Kid because he played Yahoo #1.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking him up. That's wild. What scene do you think that's from?
Man, it's been a long time since I've seen Karate Kid.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of adult characters in that film besides the mother and
Martin Cove and Pat
Cove
Morita.
and Morita.
Vivian and Cynthia. God, they were hot. Especially Vivian. I killed them both, you know. I didn't mean to kill Vivian.
Ugh.
We were getting it on one night on the railing of this fire escape. She was sweet. Anyway, we just gotten through and she starts to meaty mouth all this, I want to see you again, you know, relationship jargon. I suppose she didn't like my response because she goes to slap me. I step back. The bitch goes over the side of the fire escape and falls 7 stories to the concrete. Smack. It freaked me out.
So somewhere in here, Price gets a call. Think what happens. He's at the radio station and he's getting ready to talk to the police about everything. And as he's gonna do it, someone comes in and they're like, Eddie's on the phone and he wants to talk to you. You remember this?
Another Rags Incorporated thing that was odd was Jason Gedrick has a crazy jacket in this movie. Did you notice this? That it's kind
like
of
a 50s vibe.
Yeah, like
There's
a
a part where
50s
he's
to
wearing like
1960.
he's wearing kind of like a pink greaser type of bowling shirt, Fonzie kind of shirt with this weird jacket.
Yeah, he has a very weird jacket. It's got that, I don't know what you call that print that you see on 50 suits and early 60s suits that are,
It's like
it's
a
really
looking thing.
Yeah, but kind of we've got way better versions of that now, of a kind of that flecked blend. I don't know what you call that look, but nowadays they have things like that look good. It's like back then. So that look is one of the worst looks.
Yeah, they toy with a little bit of that. So this was in that stylistic changeover where we're moving away from grunge.
We're we're into the very 70s inspired era right now for the post Pulp Fiction Brady Bunch movie.
Yeah, but see, I think we're moving into the swingers, more like retro, even further retro.
Oh, we do get into a big bowling shirts era in the late 90s.
Yeah.
To 2000 area.
Yeah, like
A shirts and bowling shirts with
Kramer shirts.
Yes, Kramer shirts. Good call. With watch or wallet chains and wide leg baggy jeans.
Yes. Yeah. So when did Swingers come out? Maybe
96, I think.
So yeah, this is a thing that was happening in LA for sure. This retro thing. And then I also think of like Lost Highway from 97, Baltazar Getty and his gang of buddies in that movie. There's even a bowling alley scene in that, and everyone's kind of a little bit rockabilly, a little bit swinger kind of looking retro to them. And Jason is starting to look like that at certain parts of this movie. So yeah, you derailed me a little bit, but he gets a call from, no, it's okay. He gets a call from Eddie, which is this is a big dramatic scene, remember, where Gedrick is like, you've been following, you're trying to frame me, what are you doing? And he's like, well, you don't want to go home because you see Cynthia's some articles of Cynthia's just happen to find their way into your house. It's like her wallet and something else. And so he drives home and the cops are there, so he can't go home. So he's kind of on the lam now and he's in hiding. I don't remember if he gets in touch.
This is one of the craziest things. Like, okay, so now we can finally talk about how bad Eric Roberts' plan is.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like the cops have a warrant even for Gedrick's arrest. How did they get this warrant? What possible evidence is there that Gedrick is responsible for a murder in Phoenix? where Eric Roberts is from. Eric Roberts didn't even kill the lady in Phoenix. So did it break his brain and make him a murderer?
Yeah,
Or
why
did he
did
just get the idea that or is he just such a sleazeball that he thought that death could come back and help him instead of and be a big deal for him if he pretended it was a murder committed by somebody else, but then he needed to frame his coworker for the murder, but his coworker is not from Phoenix. He is.
Yeah, the whole time all the cops had to do was connect that first murder with the city that he came from.
Where they have the body. They know them
Yeah.
where the murder was.
Well, what I was going to
Which
say,
wasn't even a murder, which is the whole thing is
yeah,
insane.
it's
The
not,
frame makes no sense.
no, it's not clear, but
It clearly makes no sense.
yes. The only thing that I thought of was that when the murder or when the accidental death happened, it like you said, it broke something in his brain where he was like, I like that. Which that would have been fun if they would have communicated that in the story, which they did not. But you get a sense that maybe like they easily could have tied that together. Like the guy likes, what did he say? What did I keep saying in the beginning? Like, take it to the limit, Phoenix. Like he wants to take things to the limit. He wants to take it to the edge. So maybe when he experiences that adrenaline rush of watching that lady die, it just like turned him into a murderer. And he had this idea where he was like, okay, well, I want to commit more murder, but I also want to go become a nationally famous DJ. So I guess what I'll do is commit some murders and then figure out how to use that to get famous. So
But he's so
frame my
insane
co-host.
that he can't plan how he can't see how framing the co-host makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as he tries to frame the co-host, it's what should get him busted.
I know. And what,
Because they're
like you
like,
said,
oh
what
wait,
tipped off the cops to want to go and raid Gedrick's house?
exactly. As soon as the Gedrick seems to be connected, they should have looked at the fact that it should have just immediately made Carlton Pickett the lead suspect in the whole thing.
Man, I really hope and pray that somebody reaches out to us and this is like their favorite movie of all time and they defend the shit out of it. And they're like, you guys are reading it all wrong. Did we even watch the same movie? And they just completely
Carlton Pickett, criminal mastermind.
logic own us on how the movie is one of the most brilliant things ever concocted. So Gedrick goes on the lam and he calls up old Jim Fife at the radio station and tells him that he needs some gear, that he's in trouble and he needs him to bring him some recording equipment, right? Or some stuff from the station. So Gedrick goes to Roberts's house and it's late at night. No one's there. All the lights are on, which is funny. I laughed at that. This is where we see him try every door. There's like 3 minutes of screen time where he tries the front door and it's locked. And then we see this hilariously patient shot of him going up to the second floor. He tries the window first, like a weirdo. Then he tries the patio door upstairs and it happens to be unlocked. So he gets in. He goes down to that table where the gun was in the drawer, opens it up, gets the gun. What else does he get?
He doesn't get those yellow
No pills. No, I thought maybe he got something else. Maybe he finds out where he is, an address of some kind. Anywho, he ends up at a warehouse, an abandoned warehouse.
Yes, that's yeah. So it's probably they're gonna have sex.
Yeah, he goes to a hookup warehouse. Roberts pulls a gun on him, and Gedrick pulls a gun on Roberts. And he says something like, "Oh, you found the gun in my house?" And they're talking for a little bit. What's Roberts say? I'm just trying to find out.
Oh, he's got a lot of
on.
great lines.
He says this is Eddie's place. That's the thing.
Okay.
He's like, this is where Eddie's been squatting. And
Eric Roberts has a very saggy belt. And I was wondering if if his belt sags because he's too thin for any known belt.
Man, I don't remember the belt here. What's he wearing? Another
some jeans with a thin
button-up shirt,
thin black belt. I don't know if he's got a button up or not. I can't remember.
Definitely a white shirt because, well, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Why it's black? Why it's white.
Probably is
something on it that happens to the shirt, as if the bullet had passed through it and blood had come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, through and through.
A nice
or through and through.
So yeah, they're gonna wait on Eddie. Roberts is like, he's gonna be here and we can get to the bottom of all this together. So He asks John if he wants a drink while they wait. He says yes. Roberts goes over to a cupboard, says he has bourbon. That'll do. Pours the bourbon. And then there's a nice insert shot of Roberts sprinkling cyanide all in the drink.
And also the shot of Gedrick at the mini fridge with some nice Coca-Cola Classic cans in it.
Yeah, he carries the drink over to Gedrick, who says, "Do you have any ice?" And Robert says, "Why don't you go find out for yourself?" And so he goes, like, this is a great coincidence that he doesn't drink it like straight out. It's the ice that saves him. He doesn't even smell the almonds at all at first. He just has it. He doesn't even have it close to his face.
Yeah, going for the ice, being told to go for the ice himself is what saves him.
So he crouches down. Yeah, we see the nice Coca-Cola, which I laughed at because
Coca-Cola Classic.
Yeah, I knew you would dig that. That's when he's got the glass closer to his face, and we have a moment of Gedrick smelling the bourbon and smelling it, noticing that it smells weird. So then we cut back over to Roberts as Gedrick walks over drinking from a glass, and Roberts feels comfortable enough to say, "There is no Eddie. It was always me." And he confesses that basically what he did.
And we'd already seen at this point him making the Eddie tape.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
we
that
forgot
before.
about this, that we've seen a scene. We already know there's no Eddie. They've had a scene where Eric Roberts is recording and practicing adapting his voice with speeding up a tape.
Yes, yeah, and
we
it's
know
right
that
after he killed
pre-tapes.
Cynthia.
He pre-tapes the Eddie calls and then sets them on a timer to call in at a certain time.
Yes.
Like an auto dialer thing or something.
But what a fucking genius to time every line in his call
perfectly.
Yes.
I meant to go back and listen to the first one again and see if that one makes sense, because there was the one where once we know he's Eddie or whatever, that one makes sense as far as I could tell with the timing and him, because he mostly interacts with Eddie and stuff. But I didn't remember to go back and check the first one. But what's funny is we know from this podcast that he's not the voice of Eddie. Matt Lesher is.
Yeah, so it was never even Roberts' voice. Well, I went back and did watch it, Roy, and it makes no sense. Like it's like it all would have depended on. There's no way that he would have been able to predict that Gedrick would have asked a certain question. He says something, I don't remember, and instantly Eddie, at the time who they think it is, answers him perfectly. I'm like, there's fucking no way. So he confesses, and then Gedrick is starting to pretend that he's getting sick from something.
Wait, first, do we have where he tells about what happened and everything? Where he says, "I didn't mean to kill Vivian," which we know he didn't kill Vivian. She just fell. And so,
yeah, this is all
he didn't kill her. He just straight up, he tells the story of how she died, and she says, like, she said, "I want to see you again." You know, relationship jargon.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, she was a cute little number." It's remembering her fondly for the sex that they had.
Then he says, like, the first time Eddie called in, they got those great numbers, and then the numbers went down again after the first Eddie call, and he's like, "All our numbers were bad."
Yeah. So Gedrick is starting to act like he's being poisoned, and this is where.
So here's another, though, like, flaw or at least as far as we can perceive, flaw in Eric Roberts's plans. If he kills Jason Gedrick, do the murders have to stop, and will his numbers go back down as a result?
Yeah, he can't murder anymore. If he does, he's going to have to be way more secret about it.
Yeah.
So if he is getting like very sexually excited by murdering people, he's going to have to quit that. He can't have both. All right. He can have maybe national fame from being the guy whose radio co-host was a murderer, and he uses that and parlays it into becoming a huge Howard Stern guy. But he can't also continue to murder to satisfy his.
But his scheme has been so crazy so far that maybe he does plan to keep murdering and thinks he can get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's power mad at this point too. Like because he keeps saying, he's like, "There's no way they're gonna pin any of this on me." Like he just feels completely invincible in this scene. And he admits to killing Cynthia with the cyanide. which is what makes Gedrick tell him, like, he looks up and he goes, "You poisoned me too, didn't you?" So he's really hamming up this being fake poison shit. What happens then? Roberts maybe says some other stuff, and
He's like starting to feel bad.
Gedrick collapses onto the ground, and then they start to shoot at each other. Oh, the cops show up. That's what happens. Our two detective friends
who told
arrive
earlier
on the
Gedrick
scene.
they were surprisingly, specific about how long it would take them to respond to a call. And Gedrick has been strapped with a phone to his chest that has been playing, so they've had time to trace it and respond. Yeah, and so they show up. Larry Drake has a pistol, and James Pickens Jr. has a shotgun.
Yeah, and just before this, Gedrick confesses to Roberts that he's been recording everything that he's just said, and has been broadcasting it on Power 98 for everyone to hear.
Oh yeah, we've seen people listening at this point. We see people listening to Power 98.
So that's either right before the gun, they start to shoot at each other, or right after Gedrick gets shot. Robert shoots Gedrick.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe Gedrick gets him, and the cops come in and they blast Roberts, and we see him falling from a great height, but we don't see how.
He falls from the sex warehouse this time.
Yeah, but we don't see him like fall out of the window or anything. We just see him take a hit from a shotgun, and then the next thing
we see his body fall. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we do, but we don't see how it happens. We just see him like,
you're right,
standing on the floor in this room, and then we see him
falling out a window. Yeah, you're right.
So then Gedrick is being put into an ambulance and talking to the cops. You see that crazy shot of Eric Roberts' dead body with his eyes wide open.
Yeah, when they zip him up in the body bag, there's probably the scariest, most thrilling shot of the movie is the shot of Eric Roberts' corpse. It's very scary. Eric Roberts is there with his eyes wide open and dead, and blood all over his face.
Yeah, and this is where we get the connection to Depth Charge, where the detective tells him, like, man, if this was a movie, you'd be played by Harrison Ford.
Yes. Which brings the question.
Did you have a nice whoa when you watched it?
Yes, I sure did. Now that brings us to who should be in the Get Shorty ending of this movie. Would it be Harrison Ford as...
Oh, totally.
Then who would be Harrison Ford's mentor in 1996 as Eric Roberts?
Sean Connery.
Yeah, good call.
How about Shannon Doherty as Jenny Garth's character? That'd be kind of fun.
That would be good.
Or Jason Priestley as, make them a gay couple. Jason Priestley as Sharon, or Jason Priestley as
Harrison Ford. There's no way he's playing a gay couple.
Jason Priestley as John Price would be pretty funny.
Callista Flockhart as Jenny Garth.
Yeah.
Who would be Stephen Tobolowsky? In this version, of course, Harvey Keitel is Stephen Tobolowsky.
Yeah. Good call. And then how about Martin Landau as Larry Drake?
Whoa.
For some reason, for years, I was convinced that Martin Landau was Larry Drake. Larry Drake and Martin Landau were the same guy.
What about as what's his face? James Pickens Jr. What about James Earl Jones?
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
For sure.
Another Roberts alumnus.
Mary McConnell as Vivian Porter.
Mary McDonald as Vivian Porter.
Or Lorraine Bracco.
How about the guy?
I think
from the Got
Mary
Milk
McConnell
commercial
be
as Jim
Leonora
Fox's character.
Skelfo. Yeah, good call.
Michael Bay directed.
What about like Al Pacino or Robert De Niro might be fun as Eric Roberts.
Sure, you'd see that. Probably more convincing as a shock jock.
Then Sean Connery would be a pretty funny shock jock.
Yeah, that was the one. I thought Roberts.
You've given me a Woody.
I don't know. He just wasn't.
Punch the keys.
He didn't have the right charisma as to be a shock jock in this. But really, again, going back to the poorly written dialogue. I mean, he did his best, I guess, with what he had. But
another
slamming
thing,
the salami and all that stuff was not my favorite stuff. I wanted some good shock jocking going on in this.
When they say it should be played by Harrison Ford, then he and Jenny Garth in the end, they make up. Like he takes responsibility for being a dick and she takes him back. And I was thinking he should have a split lip like in Indiana Jones where they kiss
Yeah.
and it hurts his lip
Where
like
doesn't it
Harrison
hurt?
Ford. Yeah, they should
Right
have done
here.
that. And then also Harrison Ford was Indiana Jones and Eric Roberts dresses like Indiana Jones in the movie. So maybe in the movie where Harrison Ford plays John Price, when he starts imitating Carlton Pickett, he could just start dressing in his Indiana Jones clothes again.
We should wrap it up.
There's a stunt woman on this movie named Neezer Tarleton.
Oh yeah, I loved that.
Neezer, like Weezer, but Neezer.
Neezer, like Ebenezer,
Yeah, it was a woman.
but it's a lady.
Yeah, but it was two E's, so not like Ebenezer.
How do you know it's a lady? You looked it up.
It said
Like
stunt woman.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, I thought all stunt people were just called stunt man.
Yeah, me too. Apparently not. Then there was a chef that worked, making food for the movie, and the chef's first name was Curry. And the end credits have an awesome, crazy song called Sea of Love that isn't this traditional Sea of Love song.
No, it was a weird. You know what it reminded me of? It's kind of like that band Dishwalla.
Oh man, I was just gonna say Dishwalla as
Tell
my
me
guess.
all your thoughts on God. Yeah, kind of that post grunge.
I'm in the sea of love.
Yep, definitely. Candlebox, a little bit of Candlebox vibes. Soft grunge.
This is the part of the show where I usually tell about my dreams. And I've been reading Black Dahlia by James Elroy.
Ooh, nice.
Cops investigating the brutal murder of a prostitute who was cut up by a psycho. I had a dream that I was a cop in LA and I was assigned to go investigate, or I was supposed to go bust this suspect or investigate this suspect who had allegedly like murdered a bunch of prostitutes and turned their ribs into bacon to eat.
God.
And I went to this like crazy lair that was like in an LA hobo jungle, but it also was like I was walking into the interior of someone's body that was like cave sized. And in it, this guy was roasting the innards of some corpses over a like trash can fire or a barrel fire. And I remember thinking, I was like, there's no way he's actually making bacon out of women's ribs. And then he pulled up this crazy rib bacon and it made me so infuriated. I just shot the guy to death. Then I went back farther into this like inside of a human body lair, and he had an accomplice, and I like snuck up on the side of this guy and put a gun to the guy's temple and blew him away.
And then you woke up.
Yeah.
Thank God. I thought there was going to be more. Not because I was bored by your dream, but because I was genuinely frightened. I don't think I could take anymore.
What's crazy is it wasn't a scary dream. It was more of like I was a badass dream in my dream.
Oh, it's frightening imagery.
It was.
So what are we going to talk
still
about
see
next?
Our next movie will not be Raggedy Man. It will be a movie from 1990, an HBO TV movie made for TV called Descending Angel.
1990.
Yes, I wanted to reach back further into the past.
Okay. Why not? That's what I say. If I could tell the listening audience anything before we sign off, it would be take it to the edge, Phoenix.
All right, then. You're right. That's us.
Great job.
Great job, Roy.
I'm going to go use the bathroom and have some dinner and start my Friday night.
Yeah, I need to go exercise or something. We didn't get to the Eric Roberts body challenge, but after really doing a terrible job, I've been trying to get back on track.
Me too. I have
results.
started to exercise. I just got to get the diet better.
But last weekend, dude, I ate so terribly after our last episode. It was insane.
Well, my
I
job
ate
is
and drank booze like it was going out of style.
my job is insane. The amount of sweets that people bring. People bring donuts
completely lost
all
your
the
mind?
time, like
What the hell
dozens
is
of
that supposed to mean?
donuts. Always like
means you haven't even
tons
gotten
of
your first
cookies
paycheck yet.
all over the place.
I love cookies.
There was a birthday at the beginning of the week, so a shitload of there's a giant cake But also with the cake was a basket of little mini candy bars. So I just got to learn to say no, man. No more.
The mini candy bars will really get you, is what I learned at the rig.
Totally.
It's like they're a good value for your money for candy, but the amount you can eat, and you forget that like pretty much 2.5 of them are a regular candy bar. And it's like you'll eat way more than 2.
Yes. Yeah. You think you're eating less than you are, but you're actually.
Yeah. And you're like, wait a second, how much food was that really? Oh, yeah, a lot.
Like someone was explaining that tortilla chips. There's just like, if you eat if you eat like half a bag of tortilla chips, that's like a shitload of. Think about that. That's like a lot of just tortillas that you've eaten. It's a lot of food.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And
Potato
kind
chips
of.
are a little bit different, but
I'll say I think potato chips probably even worse for you.
more saturated fat.
Yeah. They seem like they're more dense and greasier. But the Doritos, they have all that salt and stuff on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, chips and salsa and queso, that'll fuck you up. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, and you can just eat so
That's
much of it.
fattening.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's what I'm
satisfying.
saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's coming
it's
in
bad
bowls
for
and
you.
baskets. So like you can't gauge. It's not like a bag of chips where you're like,
Yeah,
oh
where you
shit,
can
I
read
can't eat
the
a whole
amount of
bag of
calories.
chips in one sitting. I don't want to be that guy. But if you're at a restaurant and baskets of warm,
Oh, yeah.
salty tortilla chips keep coming, you don't even like, doesn't register to you that you've probably eaten a bag of them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a big time tortilla chip eater. So it's like kind of in a weird way, it does register with me because I go into a place that's going to serve me tortilla chips knowing that I'm just about to do something terrible to myself because I have no self-control. If I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm about to eat like 80,000 chips. It's going to be bad.
And when the waitress is like, how are you today? And you're like, take it to the limit, Phoenix.